Alright, I should be live. Yeah, looks like we're good. Hello everybody, welcome. I know we're doing this a lot later / earlier, depending on your time zone, than I usually do, not only any live stream, but recordings. So we may not have as much of a turnout from the old crew as usual. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, welcome to the stream, everybody. For those who are new to my open mics, they work basically like this. It is an open mic. There's going to be a link in the description, and I'm going to provide it in the chat as well. And what this essentially is it's an open one-on-one conversation with me, and you're just going to be able to voice your thoughts on a given topic. Each of the open mics are community-driven, and I like to invite anybody who wants to take the floor and have a direct conversation with me. And they may not necessarily want to have the conversation necessarily with me as much as they just want to voice to the greater community at large using my platform, you know, their thoughts and their take and their suggestions. It's a good, I would argue, a good platform in which people can, you know, voice their thoughts. Now, of course, it is my show, so I will always chime in with my thoughts. I will always engage in direct discussion and debate if necessary. But generally, that's how the open mics work for anyone who is new. So before we get into things, let me welcome everybody who's in the chat currently. That'd be Dark Resurrect, who was here earlier. Oh boy, I can't wait for this discussion. Well, I'm glad you can't wait, because we're getting right into it now. Voided Steel, welcome to the stream. Is he going to do an arch and call for a mass email campaign against GW? No, I am not. First of all, I don't think I have the clout capital to do that. But even if I did, I'm of the personal opinion that you should do whatever you are most comfortable with doing. Like, I don't see my community or my audience as, like, an extension of, like, people I can, you know, even let alone command, but, like, suggest things to at such a scale with it. I don't think I have that power, nor do I want it. At the end of the day, we're all individual members of the greater community of 40k. So whatever level of protest you personally are willing and want to do, I recommend doing. Personally, what I'm doing is I'm boycotting GW products going forward. I'm sticking to the secondhand market for my stuff. I'm going to be looking for PDFs for any old edition materials I don't currently possess, including older codexes that I may no longer have, because I used to have my old codex Space Marines for 7th edition, but I can't find it. I actually looked for it when I got home today from work. So, yeah. But that being said, again, I'm not really here to orchestrate anything as much as I just want the community to have a platform to discuss things and converse. Because obviously I made my video on this topic. You guys already know my thoughts, assumingly if you've seen them. But just in case, I will reiterate them in a second here. Also, I'd like to welcome Charlie Frank. I say make this the line in the sand. Full boycott until they step back. That is personally my take. I would agree with that. But again, this is a discussion from all point of views. So, yeah. But yeah, that's my standpoint as well. Line in the sand. I don't intend to buy any more GW products going forward. Well, I'm not anything 40k, and I don't think there's any of the games that they make that I buy at the moment. So, no, yeah, I guess I can still say that with confidence. Yeah, no GW products, including the paints actually, because I'm actually getting sick and tired of the paint pots anyway. So I'll probably just stick with Vallejo. Even though Vallejo's metallics aren't as amazing. Oh well. Alright, welcome Havoc. Hey Asmo, how you doing? Hey Gordon, welcome. Howdy, still at work, so I'll be in and out. That's perfectly fine. Mexicanoni, hey, what's up, bro? Just saw your video. It sucks as I'm in the middle of painting my Custodes army. Sorry to hear that, man. Am I seeing this correctly? Female Custodes. Female mutants showed soldiers, super soldiers. Yes, you are. I made a video going over it earlier today. If you want to look into that, I share a lot of the materials there. There's other materials I've also shared on my Twitter about it, but the summarization of it is recently there was a review of the coming Codex Custodes for 10th edition, and in it there's a short story from the perspective of seemingly a female Custodes. Now, not a female Scissors of Silence, but a female Custodes, which this would be the first female Custodes to ever exist in the lore. And the only reason that they would add one now after almost 40 years straight of lore is for political reasons. There's no other reason to add a female Custodes. Because when it comes to like female forces, we already have Sisters of Silence that are underrepresented as all hell in the lore, underrepresented on the model front, underrepresented in the existing model range. We already have so little in terms of the existing female factions that we love dearly. So yeah, this is to degrade them and to devalue them by adding in femme Custodes. It's disgusting. So amongst many things, there's lots of issues here. Welcome, Papadour. Welcome, NATO. Welcome, Telcree. Away from you. Wow. Actual Jake, why? Wait, why can't women be in 40k? Where did I say that? Where did actually anyone say that? As a straight man, doubtful. I'm excited to not be looking only at men now. Well, boy, have you been blind over the last 20 years. We've already had Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence for a long time now. Dang. You might need to look into some glasses, dude. Trans girl bacon. Wrong. Specify. About what? This is going to be fun. Trip. Yeah, ask how Suicide Squad, how that went. Oh yeah, that went to shit as well. You like more than 2 kinds of women, bro? Well, I got good news as well. Both of those have way more than 2 kinds. Do you know how many different orders of sisters there are? Quite a few. Quite a few. But I suppose we had to get at least one tourist in the chat. That would be Actual Jake. But, Actual Jake, you're welcome to come on into the show. Just jump right into the Discord linked right here. And I'd be happy to talk to you in voice call. Yeah, it's linked right in chat. Feel free to click in, jump into one of the waiting calls, and I'll take your call. No, we're talking right now. If you don't want to take the floor because you're afraid, no, that's perfectly fine. But we're right here right now. I take my calls on the open mics. They're available right here, dude. There's 1 2 kinds of women in 40. Well, he's a tourist. He doesn't know that. Like, he doesn't know about all the female guard units. He doesn't know about all of the different orders of sisters. The guy doesn't know the lore. He's not a fan. Like, he's a tourist. Salamanders, the Foresight Enclaves are the best factions now. Oh, and the Necrons? Nah. That's pretty brave of you to say. Tyranids are female as well. I wouldn't say there's been a specified gender as far as I know. Unless the Norn Queen, obviously, is a specified gender in the name, but I don't even know if that technically works that way. Tyranids don't really breed in conventional manner. Right, so women being added shouldn't matter. No, it does matter. It does matter because it's not. The problem here is you're the one making it about gender. It's not just about gender. It's about the lore in terms of its integrity. Up to this point, female Space Marines as well as Custodes have always been described as all male factions. Always. So the problem isn't that women are being added. This would make just as much of a. This would be just as much of a problem if all of a sudden there were Orc Custodes. Or there were Tau Space Marines. Not Space Marines in the terms of their Tau armor, but I mean like literally the Tau species, any of them, becoming Space Marines. This would have just as much of a backlash because it's just as much of a problem and it's for the same reason. It's because the lore is being molested and altered by outside forces for reasons that have nothing to do with anything beneficial towards the hobby. This is manipulation for political ideology. That's it. There is no other reason to be doing this. Yeah, and if it doesn't matter, why change it in the first place? Exactly. So if it doesn't matter, then all Custodes and all Space Marines can be male. It doesn't matter after all, right? Alrighty. So, let's get right into the calls, guys. Well, before we do, I'll do this real quick and just kind of showcase it directly, because I couldn't do it in the video, because I only got the screenshot after I'd put out the video. So, I just want to show you guys, like, all the existing information we have before we jump into the discussion. Alright, so the first one we're going to show off is the actual screenshot. This is the actual proper. Someone was actually able to blow it up without it being all pixelated, unlike me. So greatly appreciate whoever did that. And this is the segment I was trying to read on stream. Custodian Calidus Torvalia Kesh stood upon the bridge of the Cobra-class destroyer named Vigilant Flame. The warship belonged to the mighty Battlefleet Solar. She lingered in the shadows at the back of the bridge, positioned at a spot where she could observe the actions of every crew member, be they in the instrument pits, at the armament shrines, or in the case of the shipmaster Lethwick, stood ramrod straight before his command throne. So, off the bat, that's the segment that says pretty straightforward, Custodian, blah, 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 Kesh. So, and then it refers to her and she. So, that right there is establishing a female Custodes. Now, there is a lot of debate and a lot of discussion around whether this is actually a Custodes, or if it's the Sisters of Silence, who are now just simply being accepted into the ranks of the Custodes in the form of accepting the name of them. If that, I kind of hope that's the case, but that could be cope from our end of things, from the fans' side of things. So, oh well. In addition to this, I've also got this screenshot, which is another segment of the short story. Not all of it has been cleaned up, I don't think. There's only a couple screenshots I've seen here and there, but this is just another segment, and it lends further credence that Kesh is a Custodes as opposed to a Sisters of Silence. So it reads, if all Kesh's plans came to fruition in just over 3 Terran Standard hours, she would deposit a compact cyclonic warhead upon the polished floor of the Emperor's throne room. In theory, it would then detonate, annihilating the companions and the Master of Mankind in a single apocalyptic detonation. Most blood games involved more direct attempts at assassination or sabotage, of course. Custodians had crept into the palace under the cover of falsehoods, sent hired killers of every stripe to attempt the deed, had sought to compromise high adepts, once notably even an inquisitor, to act as tools, a few avant-garde individuals. Now, the part that kind of leans to the idea that Kesh is a Custodes here is the fact that they are involved in the blood games. Now, there's a lot of discussion there, and this is where my own understanding of Custodes lore might be a little rough. But as far as my understanding, the blood games, which are in the lore, the blood games are a regular test of the palace's defenses by the Custodes themselves. And as it says here, it can be anything from hiring outside forces to try and breach it that they think might have the ability, or sometimes, and more often than not, it's the Custodes themselves attempting games as a sort to try and breach the defenses, find weaknesses, and kind of test each other's ability to properly protect the throne room. That's the blood games. As far as I know, the Custodes themselves are the only ones that conduct these games. It's not the Sisters of Silence do not participate, at the very least, in terms of the direct games themselves. I think they do participate as far as actually still maintaining their normal defensives against any of the Custodes doing the testing of the games, but I don't think they take the other side. I don't think they're actual participants in that regard, where they can be the ones trying to breach in versus ones trying to defend out. I don't believe that's the case. So if that my understanding is correct, then that means Kesh is indeed a Custodes if she is engaging in the blood games at proper. If my understanding is incorrect, then this might just be a null and point segment of the little bit of lore. So that's all I've been able to gather in regards to the confirmation of Kesh being a proper female Custodes, as we understand them, as opposed to a Sister of Silence that has the title of Custodes. So that's kind of bringing you guys all up to date. Again, this is in the coming codex, so there is also the conversation to be had that maybe GW will back things up, but they're already releasing pre-printed copies to influencers to review. Like, that's where all this was coming from, was from influencers like Gorilla Miniatures and his review of things like this. So as far as we know, this is 100% going to be the codex that they send out. They're just sending out early copies to hype people up via influencers. And if that's the case, I highly doubt they're going to retract and reprint a bunch of this stuff. I think they're just going to end up doubling down and releasing it as is. They might put out an FAQ or something if the backlash is strong enough that's saying, hey, never mind, we're not doing this. But that's not really their style. Not really. Once they commit enough to go this far with it, they usually stick with it. For better or for worse. Alright, so now that I've got you guys all up to date, let's start the show. So, again, right over in the description is a link to the call line Discord. Keep in mind, it is a Discord for call lines, though there is some community interaction there. It's not my community Discord, just letting you guys know that. And the rules are simple. Just jump into waiting call room 1, 2, or 3. I'll pull you guys in order, and just make sure to move you guys yourselves up 1 every time I pull somebody out. Alright, so we're going to start with our first caller.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Closing Straw, you're my first caller. So, what are your thoughts on all this?
It's a multitude of different opinions that are circulating into... I have slowly started to hate 40k. I used to enjoy it. I used to play some online games. I used to enjoy a lot of their products, and I'm starting to realize, wow, I fucking hate everything about this fucking franchise.
Well, I guess I would confront that a little bit. Are you actually hating the franchise now, or do you just hate the alterations and changes that are coming with it?
I hate the franchise in general.
Really? Okay.
I kind of, I was very much a teenager going like, whoa, this is so cool. But now I'm looking and like, wow, this is so shit. I mean, not just the, hey, we're implementing current day, the current year political bullshit that's constantly just a back and forth snuggle struggle between two psychopaths who are like, no, my guy's right. No, my guy's right. I'm going to, and while both ignoring their side's bullshit because, tribalism, human idiocy, and just jackassery.
It sounds to me more like your problem is the politicization. It's not the actual hobby or the lore in terms of its pre-existing nature as much. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, a little bit of that, and also because they keep doing this. They keep retconning everything. Oh, there's no female Custodes. Well, there's now female Custodes because they're one of our best-selling models. We pay a lot of money. We make a lot of money for it. And, a very corporate, nonchalant, who gives a fuck? Fuck the pre-existing fan base. We need a wider audience sort of scenario. While, as we have seen before, ignoring a lot of the other pre-existing cast out there, like Sisters, the Sisters of Silence, the Sisters of Battle, the female Imperial Guards, the female Eldar, a lot, and just, more.
I mean, I can't really agree that, all of 40k has been, this is just from my perspective. I'm not saying, you're wrong from yours, obviously. This is, subjective, right? But from my personal angle, I still love 40k even after all this. I just don't love the new stuff. The retcons, that's also been a problem. Like, I really hated what they did with the End in the Death Volume 3. That was just garbage. Like, the Emperor getting killed with a shiv, that was bullshit. So, for me, I definitely understand, like, the hatred of all the new stuff, and I can understand that affecting, like, your overall enjoyment of the hobby and of, like, the community and everything. I
There's
do
a big
understand.
there's a one big asterisk to that. I
Mm.
do love the squats, and I think that's the angle the rest of 40k should have went with.
Squats as
Instead,
in Votan or squats as in squats? Like old school?
squats Otan. Like
Mm.
like the original squats and the new leagues of Votan are very similar. Just they had changed the angle so that's more transhuman, pre-existing society. Then they're dwarves in space, but they also used to be humans. Don't worry about it. Have fun. Consume product. And like I got in during the Matt Ward era, and I was like, yeah, I kind of see certain issues with it now, but I'm sure it's great. But then I keep reading about all the idiocy and just bullshit GW keeps pulling. The increased prices of models, the like you have to pay more for models than you have to pay for the current price of silver. Codex creep, that's just that, oh, you want to be good in tournaments and just in general, buy the new codex and armies. The previous one blown out of the water by the new one. The constant retcons, as I stated before, like, did you know Eldrad used died because Slanesh was in a Black Star Fortress?
No,
Well,
I did not.
yeah, well, forget about it because that's gone. It didn't happen. It's fiction. Shut up. Didn't happen. Don't worry about it. Consume product. Or how the custodians fought naked, like just, oh, here's a demon, pull it apart in like hot bread while oiled up like a Turkish wrestler. Just things that they could expand upon, demonstrate more of, and add more depth are usually put on the wayside because insert author here wants to show off their cool guys that are totally original, not ripped off of pre-existing products, and just like, hey, let me show you how cool these guys are. Why don't you think they're cool? This is Killfuck Soul Shitter who has a lot of friends in the chapter that's totally cool and not just ugh. And that's my overall issue is that the female custodians are just one symptom of an overarching problem that has been developing since second edition really is, well, you know, the old thing that you liked, we're throwing it away for something completely different. Oh, hey, or the fact that they keep saying, oh, none of this matters, it's all propaganda, don't worry about it, while people like you and me are very worried about it because we like the lore, we like the community, we like everything about it. But then corporate wants more money. The authors want to be the coolest and the bestest and the baddest and the biggest when just, going in more depth than size would help the setting a lot. But they don't. Or the fact that the original setting, 40,000, meant 40,000 light years. That was how big the Imperium was supposed to be. A solid 40% of the galaxy was owned by the Imperium, supposedly, which leaves about 60% of the rest of the galaxy open up for who knows what's out there. Maybe there's a smaller human civilization that's Star Trek while we're in the Dark Ages. It's just they rely more on an ever increasing desperate fan base that keeps getting brought into new editions with different settings, retcons, just new things, while leaving the old fans behind because hey, they're paying for sunk cost fallacies. And yeah, that's my 2 cents about it.
No, I think that's perfectly fair. I mean, like I said, that's a perfectly fair way to see things, and it's. I'd even argue you're definitely correct that with all the new stuff. Hell, you're technically right. Even from like the 40k's inception, there's been a lot of issues with the lore when it comes to like the specificity of events and the contradicting elements from book to book to author to author. Honestly, the biggest detriment to 40k is the fact that GW felt they needed to hire like a different author for every other book for some reason. Yeah, it's resulted in a lot of problems well before like the woke stuff got involved. I'd agree with that. For me though, I still think back to like the first 7 books of the Horus Heresy, and despite the fact that each one of those effectively was written by someone else, it still felt like a flowing story that was interconnected, that had logical conclusions based on the prior book and its establishments. Like I think back to that, and I don't necessarily think it's doing wrong. The number of authors is definitely a problem, but at the time there was like only like what 7 authors. It's not just that; it's the problem that there's no effort in Black Library or at GW whatsoever to keep consistency with the lore, and they obviously they don't care enough to do that because you're right. It's about consume product, sell minis. You know the lore has only ever been really added for the argument of convincing people to buy more minis and buy more of their product. And it's this hyper business sense has been kind of ever present, and it does make things really hard to stick around for and keep up the fandom
Yeah.
aspect. So I totally get where you're coming from. For me though, I've been able to effectively ignore a good chunk of it for a while because what was most important was never contradicted. Like certain elements of the lore we could latch onto as understanding pillars. Like, okay, this is set in stone. This is the heat death of the universe. Like this is some things we can, jump from point A to point B, and everything in between might be fluctuating, but we still have the skeleton there. But for me,
Yeah.
part of that has been like all Astartes are male, all Custodes are female. Sisters of Silence are all primarily female. They're null psychers. Male null psychers are typically sent to the Assassinорums. Like general structural information about the factions has been concrete and formed, where it's usually with events and the specificity of events where things are kind of fluctuating.
Yeah.
But right now what they're targeting for changes, especially with this female Custodes change, is they're starting to attack those fundamental pillars that A haven't changed since their proper introduction, and B have not needed and still don't need to change.
Yeah.
So
Like,
that's what's kind of hitting me in my enthusiasm for the hobby.
yeah, like I understand like having a good pillar of lore and skeleton of we know this is what happened, but we don't know what exactly happened during these events. Because the Imperium's 10,000 years old. No shit, things are going to get disordered, changed, warped, and altered because people fantasized and increased the desperation or epicness, if you want to use that word, of the situations. And because of this constant, well, I understand there's good uses of lore, but there's enough of a I keep bringing up BattleTech whenever I'm on here, but yeah, that's what BattleTech did very well was they did set up good pillars of lore, good bones of lore, so when you can follow the patterns or follow the stories, you can go through different interpretations and find the key points that probably happened. As they say, a good compelling mystery is better than a half-ass answer.
Yeah,
And
I'd agree.
that's overall the issue. A lot of old grognards of the setting of 40k used to have is that they keep changing shit, they keep treating the fans like shit, but eh, like I still fucking hate Primaris Marines.
I agree.
Oh, they're better because they're bigger. You mean they're a bigger target? Just
Yeah, the Primaris stuff has been really bad. They've cleaned up some of it since, but not enough. In concept, there's still a huge problem. So yeah, I get where you're coming from there.
yeah, it's TLDR. Female custodians sort of makes sense if they didn't say there's only male custodians.
In the past,
And yeah, because you're telling me he's a literal madman who does not give a shit about individuals with his own eugenics program made a bunch of tall muscle mummies that he can just go, see, these are my children, yes, and just casually twirls his giant golden mustache because, fuck that guy. Anyway. Man, I know I make fun of people who turn like this setting or IP or product is my personality. But recently I've been going into RuneQuest and Glorantha, which is more or less was completely stolen by GW on multiple fronts. And they have more or less, and which is slowly becoming my personality. But everything 40k, GW, and all what have you did has been done in RuneQuest and Galantha, but better. And
I I
I'm
can't
not.
really comment. I don't know anything about it, and we're not gonna get into it here if that's all right.
Oh no, I perfectly fine. No one cares about it except like a few diehards and Chaosium, which is the main guys who produce it. And besides, that's beyond this diatribe, so whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got. Female custodians are not the problem, just a symptom of the overall issues that has been plaguing Games Workshop since forever. And not to mention just the constant unironic, what do you mean we're the bad guys? That's been going on throughout the entire group, except Dark Eldars and Tyranids players. They yeah, these guys are bad guys, but I like to think of them as tiny cat people I can fawn over. Anyway, that's all I got.
Wow.
Goodbye.
Have a good one, man. Thank you for coming on.
See ya. Bye.
See ya. Let me welcome a couple more people here in chat. Chris Baldwin, I think I welcomed you earlier, but I'll do it again. James Drake, welcome to stream. Ymir, welcome to stream. Pickle Father Nurgle, welcome. How you doing, man? Rock Muncher. Hey, Rock Muncher, would you like to hop in? I'll link in the chat the call line. Also, hey, Dark Resurrect. So yeah, Rock Muncher, if you want to hop in and have a chat, since you're saying Cope Hard or Chuds, you're not afraid to hop onto a voice call, are you? Since you got the enthusiasm. Just let me know what your Discord handle is, and I'll pull you in ahead of the crowd. Because be interested to get the pro fem FSM and the pro fem Custodes perspective. You have opinions? Yeah. Well, here's the place to express them, man. Been a minute for me as well. How do you do, Asmogan? I do pretty good. How about you, caveman? How you been? Hey, Kaiju, howdy. I am at work. Understandable. You'd rather your shoes path than your face? What? That works, sadly. Ah, okay. It's perfectly understandable. But, Rock Muncher, you wanna come on, man? Too many women, too many women. Hello, Tehe. I see you're still sleep deprived. I'm so sleep deprived, I'm still up. I'm doing this. Been good at work, but thankfully it's standing patrol, just me and the homeless. Well, stand strong. Don't let the crackheads get you. The Rock Muncher from Neverending Story. No, the Rock Muncher from Neverending Story was actually likable and somewhat wise. The Rock Muncher we got in the chat is, I think, a literal human Rock Muncher. 7:30 and going. Woo! Hell yeah! Go for the record. Don't actually go for the record. Nathan will have my blood if I encourage you to stay up, so. That or he might be on my side. You know, me and Nathan might get out the pom-poms. Hey, go for 40 hours. Go for 40 hours. They are big, strong hands. Yes. Neverending Story is so good, by the way. If anyone who hasn't seen it, check it out. So, I'm assuming Rock Muncher ran away. Like a coward. So, let's pull in the next guest. Trip!
Yep.
Welcome. How you doing?
Fine.
Alright.
Not exactly too jazzed about this news.
Neither was I. It came out of nowhere for me. I'm assuming the same for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it came from the same place. The Discord call channel, actually.
Okay, so you heard it right in here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shoot. What are your thoughts?
This is. I guess we were giving GW too much credit. No, it was just their unbelievable slow actions. And yet they didn't take a peek of what was happening to Star Wars, Marvel, just about every other fandom doing this crap.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. I didn't want to cut you off if you wanted to go further with it.
That was the end of that sentence.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the same thing that's been happening to Star Wars and other stuff. And again, I'd like to reiterate for anybody watching this who are like, oh, you guys just hate women, huh? The issue is not gender. The issue is that the lore and the setting are being manipulated and altered solely for the sake of political pandering. I would have the same amount of issues here if it were, let's say, orcs were being pushed to become Astartes or Custodes. It's a fundamental breach of the existing lore being done for no good reason and no tangible benefit, as far as I am concerned, towards neither the community, nor the game, nor the setting. It's entirely a molestation of things, and again, the clear motivation is done for political pandering and virtue signaling.
Yeah, this is the sad thing. These guys are the same people who would champion Howard Hughes and Warren Patrick. Okay, sorry. Impromptu history lesson. These were two people who made the American Broadcast Association and pretty much started the Comics Code Authority. Fairly censorious things, because you gotta get those moral standards in media.
Oh, by the way, real quick, to clarify for the chat, if you guys want in on the show, I'll link in the chat, and it's also in the description of the stream. There's a link to a call line Discord. It's not a community Discord, so everybody knows that. Although there's no reason to not hang out and chat with the people on it. There's pretty cool people over there. But the server I use solely for this show to have people like Trip and our previous guest and a lot of my other folks to come on and members of the community and just kind of voice your thoughts in regards to topics. So, yeah, it's pretty simple process. You're going to jump in and you're going to see 4 VCs. You'll notice I'm not in any of them. I'm in an invisible one that I pull people into one at a time. That way everybody can get a fair shot in voicing their thoughts. And everything's one-on-one, so nobody feels ganged up on. So it's also a way I encourage people who disagree and who may be, like Rock Muncher was earlier, might want to, like, debate me. They don't feel like they're entering a chat full of people who disagree with them and they're too scared to go up against them, although I don't know why you would be to disagree with people if you're that sure you're right. But regardless, it's just usually one-on-one with me and you, and I pull everybody in one at a time. So just to let you know, jump into general waiting room. That's where, like, you guys can, like, jump in as, like, in larger numbers, and then as slots become available for waiting call 1, 2, and 3, you're going to enter the waiting call 3 from general rating. And then once 2 is there, you can jump to 2, then 1. Basically, it's a line, right? I pull you guys in one at a time. So, yeah, that's just a quick brief process explanation of how the open mics work. And again, if you want to get in on that, the link I shared in the chat, I also shared in the description. So, sorry about that, Trip.
A public service announcement. But like I said, it's basically people who want to basically control every freaking piece of media.
Yes. And I would say the clear reason for wanting to control the media is to push their political ideology. Though that may not be their explicit thought process, their effective goal is to kill escapism. Because if people can escape the real world, people can escape having to engage with their political pandering and their lobbying and all of their pushing of their politics. Like, they don't want people to escape to a galaxy far, far away. They don't want people to escape to a grimdark future. They don't want people escaping to any of these fictional settings. They want people to constantly be thinking about whatever ideological message they want to spread.
Everything is political.
Yeah, and that's they've genuinely been brainwashed to think that, because they,
or at least brainwashed to basically see everything in their political lens, and thus pretty much project that to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh yeah, well, Animal Farm is political. Yes, that piece of media is specifically political. Now, can you say the?
What about Teletubbies?
Or how about this? How about you tell me the politics of Moby Dick?
And the sad thing is, they would actually start losing their minds and trying to explain to you how it's political. Like, I
don't know. They also like to conflate messaging with politics. Like, basically, Moby Dick, cycle of revenge, blah blah blah.
Yeah, they don't understand that there is a vast difference between what they call politics, which is propaganda, which is telling you not telling you how to think, but telling you what to think. And then there's messaging, which is presenting a topic for you to think about, which is encouraging you to
and of course, that's the problem, is there are some political parties almost, and well, just about everyone you can find them, will try to think that their ideology wants to expand to all human existence and thoughts and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's a war game, that's very political. Okay, what politics? And okay, so exactly, there's many different kinds of politics, and sometimes they're not referring to anything. Like, I've even heard people say Mario's political because Bowser wants to connect Pete's because, yes, regime change, trying to take over the kingdom, but what, is this being pro-monarchy? Are you really saying Mario's talking about the virtues of monarchy?
Yes, they actually think that, and that's the disturbing thing. They're that insane. All right. So is there anything else you'd like to say, Trip? I got other people waiting in the calls.
True. I'll just hang around in general weight room, maybe talk to people. But I guess that's the general thing. But oh wait, just one of the. But it said that it's all media is basically doing this, especially Disney and everything they're grabbing.
Yeah.
Video games.
Yeah.
Desserts.
All entertainment media. Yeah, I'd agree.
And of course, there's this, and it's probably because DEI and BlackRock and sorry, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but this is a proven thing. ESG, it's always been a thing, but it's never truly seemed to be successful. That's the ironic part, ain't it? Like,
I don't think it's actually been that successful.
yeah, that's the thing. It's not successful. Star Wars is on an all-time low.
Oh, you said it's not successful. I'm sorry, I misheard you.
Okay, not successful. It's like, so yes, you're getting some funding and probably tax write-off, but is it really worth it for all you're losing?
It must be because they keep doing it, but time will tell. I mean, stocks for Disney have plummeted over the last 5 years, like massively. So
what the hell? It's like their only skill is somehow avoiding consequences of their actions.
I gotta figure that something is happening in the background to keep them afloat, to make them feel like they gotta keep pushing this, but I couldn't fathom what that is, to be honest.
They have to literally, I say they literally and figuratively know where the bodies are hidden.
That would explain a lot.
Okay. Now I'm definitely done, and
okay.
Next person.
Right.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for coming on, Trip. Much appreciated.
I was saying thank you for general, but yes, thank you.
No problem. All right. So, real quick before I keep going, let me welcome a few more people who might have hopped in chat. I saw Nathan hump in earlier. Hey, Nathan. Get yourself some jelly and Dr. Pepper, Mr. Roof Tile Fella. Good appearance. Oh, God. Ben Runciman, welcome. The Lion, welcome. They need to keep their woke crap out of the hobby. I agree. Matt the Beast, welcome. I hate Moby Dick. I read it for AR points. AR points to get free amusement park tickets. This is okay. My name is Ishmael, and here's the details of the journey on a whaling vessel, and everyone but me died. The end. Not gonna. I read Moby Dick twice. Once for one of my 8th grade English classes, and for a final I had to do in high school, my senior year. And it was. I've read worse things, for sure, but I wouldn't compliment it in any major way. Like I could see in a very minute way why it became a thing. Let's see. Zirkle, also welcome. Micmag, the King of Carcosa. I don't host stay see the I don't host stay see the. I'm just gonna ignore the third and fourth word. I don't see the big deal. I'm very tired of people doomsdaying 40k over this. I'm doomsdaying the future of 40k over this. I don't think 40k as a whole is gonna go down for this. Like I myself, I'm not quitting the hobby. I'm quitting the future of the hobby. Like 10th edition will be the last new edition I engage in. I might keep up with Horus Heresy. So far, that's been pretty consistently good. So, but 40k proper, I think I'm done after 10th edition. I'm 100% done lore-wise, and miniatures-wise, Horus Heresy, Age of Sigmar, 40k, doesn't matter. I'm not getting any new models from the company, because they're just not produced. Like, for me, the biggest draw of 40k is the setting, is the universe, and they're ruining it, as far as I'm concerned. As for why this is a big deal, I'll reiterate for everybody joining in, and why I consider this a significant thing. These changes are not being done because of any tangible benefit to the universe, to the setting, or to the hobby space. These are being done for virtue signaling and hobby community brownie points. At least that's what they think. Female Custodes serve zero purpose. None. Custodes don't breed. Neither do Astartes. Gender serves no purpose with either faction, other than aesthetic. And the established aesthetic over the years has been all male. Why change that? To steal a line from the woke, what does it matter? Exactly. What does it matter? If it doesn't matter, then why change it? Why add female Space Marines? Why add female Custodes? Why push these things? For political brownie points and ideological warring, that's the activist and wokehammer front. For us actual real fans and hobbyists, there's no need for the change. So what this change represents is that people are being able to influence, control, and alter the future of the hobby by pushing politics into the space. That's what this signifies to me. Again, gender be damned. The gender couldn't matter less in this regard. I would have the same reaction if it was people pandering that orcs needed to be made into Astartes, or that one of the Tau species was made into a Custodes. It would be just as much of a breach of the existing established lore and as much of a perversion of the universe. Like, once you start ripping away at the established concrete pillars of lore the few that we have, keep in mind, because 40k has a soft lore. It's always had a firm backbone of the events, but it's always had a softer, malleable specificity of details, which has been like where the vagaries happen. And that's why some people have argued that there is no canon. There is. The universe wouldn't exist without one, and the canon is in the broad events and in some specific elements that have been maintained over the decades. One of which being Astartes are all male, and Custodes have pretty much always been depicted as men. Though, unlike with the Astartes, admittedly, there's less of a reason why they would just all be male, other than the Emperor just wanted them to all be men. Point being, again, the gender is not the problem. It's that the change is being made at all, and the retcon is being made at all. The big question is why. And there's no reason other than virtue signaling or political pandering. That's the only reason this change would be happening, and is happening. Because if it was something GW always wanted to do and always thought was appropriate for the Custodes, why didn't they do it a decade ago? Why didn't they do it 2 decades ago? Why didn't they do it 3 decades ago? Why is this something only happening now? Why is this retcon happening now? And the answer to me is very clearly political virtue signaling. And this also seems like it's testing the waters for female Space Marines as well. So, that's the problem. The integrity of what little consistent lore we do have is now being threatened, and not because of the standard reason, which is just a writer going rogue. It's for a worse thing. It's for political pandering. That's the problem. So that's the answer to that question. Welcome Siege. I think I welcomed Siege earlier, but I'll do it again. Welcome honestly, I've seen an Orc Space Marine as an interesting concept for a book or something. It sounds so strange that it might be interesting. Do we really need to stick the dogmas so hard? It'd be a fun fanfic. It wouldn't make a damn lick of sense canon-wise, and it would be a horrible change. Absolutely would. And stick to dogmas. It's not sticking to dogmas, it's having a consistent base of rules. Like, if your universe doesn't have a existing rule set when it's established setting, and that can change at the drop of a hat without any proper explanation or tangible justification for the storytelling and for the universe, then it shouldn't be done. And for me, that sounds horrible. Like, the idea of a canonical attempt to make a orc into a Space Marine, that's just an awful idea. It's not sticking to dogma, it's having an appreciation for consistency and integrity. But if you want to discuss it further, feel free to jump right into the waiting call room. I'd be happy to discuss it with you. Alright, so I'm going to pull in the next caller. Undead is a grifter. Well, how you doing?
Yeah. I called myself that because, they typically call people like us, like us anti-woke guys like grifters and stuff like that, which, and then like next thing you know, we also use that word to describe some people, and I'm like, I don't know what to believe anymore. Anyway, so first off, I know nothing about Warhammer. so I kind of need some explanation on what's going on here. I just wanted to come in because, you know, I've known about you for years, and so cheers to that.
Oh, good to have you on, and thank you.
I've been waiting to open this damn soda can for like 30 minutes now, and I've been thirsting.
Go right ahead. So what do you want to know? Do you want me to give you a full breakdown or bullet points? Because full breakdown, I've already kind of
like
done
a
that.
TLDR of the custodians or something.
All right, so not being a 40k fan, it's hard to explain in full detail, but to give a basics here. In the 40k setting, there's Space Marines, Astartes, which are transhuman, not transgender, but transhuman. They're kind of an elevated,
I just thought of that.
yeah, they're elevated, genetically superior humans through multiple organs being supplanted in their bodies. They're taken as young children, and throughout multiple years of their puberty, they're genetically enhanced to an absurd degree. Like there's like 20 plus organs they're supplanted with throughout that time, and they grow to be like 7.5 to 8, 7.5, or I think it's 7 feet to 7.5 feet tall, with the rare exception like Tyberos. But yeah, that's basic Space Marines, and then there's an even more genetically enhanced type of human within the same overarching faction of the Imperium called Custodes. They're like they're like Space Marines plus, or plus even. They're 8 feet tall to 8.5 feet tall. They're super fast, super powerful. For every 3 to 4 Space Marines, you get a Custodes. Some would argue for 5 to 6, but I don't know if it's that much of a gap, since there's lots of examples of Space Marines defeating Custodes and vice versa. But regardless, Custodes are an even more enhanced version of the same idea, though the process of creating them is very different. There's a lot of complexity and like specifics I could go into.
So are they like all dudes? Is it like the trope where you know, like this group is all dudes, this group is all girls, you know, stuff like that?
Within 40k, yes. It's always been established and always referenced in terms of the characters that all Custodes are male. Unlike Space Marines, though, Space Marines are all male to a very specific degree. With the Custodes, it's always been they've just never mentioned a female one ever before, and they've always been like paired up with Sisters of Silence, which are an entirely different sect of defense for the Emperor. They're a whole nother can of worms, but point is, the Custodes have always been male in terms of their description. It's never once been even brought up, the idea of female Custodes, until very recently. But unlike Space Marines have this thing called a gene seed, which is, it's basically how they reproduce, quote unquote. You make a new Space Marine by taking the gene seed of a dead Space Marine, and that's one of the first things that they kind of supplant into an aspirant, which is the child soldiers that they collect to make into Space Marines. And in that, it is designed to only work with the male genetics, and that is established lore. But the Custodes don't have gene seeds, so that's where there's a little bit of a gap here.
So didn't you say there were like female ones too, you know?
No. There are
like not female Custodes, but like another group that's all female. Like, is that what you said, or did I mishear?
No, you are correct. The Sisters of Silence, there's actually two. There's Sisters of Battle, which are on the level of Space Marines. They're nuns in space, effectively.
Nuns in space. That sounds like my type of thing.
Yeah, super religious zealots. They're awesome. Probably one of my favorite factions. Top 2, top 3.
So, you know, something people need to know about, like, you know, this whole modern day when it comes to, like, gender and stuff like that. Like, you know, I always viewed stuff like, of course, we've all been through, I never really knew about it until much later, which, thank God, you know. If a kid never grew up on politics, because I was a 2010s kid, I'd say that's good parenting right there. But, I mean, again, I grew up watching Super Mario Logan. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is, like, you know, we all knew about the Anita Sarkeesian era where she said, like, the damsel in distress is sexist and the sexy girls are sexist. And it's like, you know, it's like everything that involves gender in a sort of way is sexist, except if you're a certain movie called The Marvels or if you're, or I mean, I was originally gonna say the Gerudos from Zelda wouldn't be made today, but then I'm like, what am I kidding? Of course they'd be made today. But but like I just always viewed like gender stuff as fun. Like BioShock, for example, like Big Daddies, and of course like there's Big Sisters. They're called Big Sisters, and like Little Sisters. They're even playing Little Brothers too. Like I don't remember what their role is supposed to be. And then like next thing you know, we got the damsel in distress trope. I always found that to be cute. Like people who have such a problem with it, I'd be like, you're on drugs, man. And like and then even when we have a damsel in distress that is like badass, like Marlene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like have you heard of Shay Frillis, the YouTuber, by any chance?
Who?
Shay Frillis? Nah. He did a review of all Spielberg's movies, and he said that Marion being a is it Marlene or Marion? It's my favorite. Whatever. Anyway, I'm starting to improve that about myself, like needing to recorrect everything. But
No, that's fine.
But like he said, I don't see why Marion is a badass, but the damsel thing is such a product of its time. It's like, oh my god, you're such an idiot. But yeah, what I'm trying to get at is like, I'm not saying everything is cute. I'm not saying like BioShock is cute because it's not meant to be. It's like it's fun. Like the idea of gender stuff is fun. Like you have Star Wars, for example, like the Night Sisters, or you have Marvel where Korg species is all male, stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other things, but strangely enough, there's not too much media with that. So, like I've said, gender stuff is fun. Who cares about segregation? You're just making it up. So yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little confused by what your point is. Like, I understand
my point is,
I understand that you're saying that you like. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My point is, like, you add female Custodes when you already established that they're all dudes, and you have space nuns, and I forgot the other one, and you need to add another gender in there, or add a non-binary one in there because, we need to be progressive. Like, that's what I'm saying,
Oh, okay. Okay, so my apologies.
It's okay.
Yeah, that is exactly what the problem is the clear incentive to do this retcon. And I hate retcons in general. I think those are detrimental no matter what they are. You should only ever add to your universe. If you go back and, like, I can't think off the top of my head anyway of any retcons that I thought were good. Retcons in general are bad, in my personal opinion.
I mean, if you're a comic book nerd and you think about like the retcon of Magneto as a Holocaust survivor, like that's good, at least in my opinion. But yeah, retcons are not that good in general. But yeah,
I'm not too familiar with that one, to be honest. When it comes to X-Men, I mostly grew up with the old cartoon and then the live action movies. So comic book wise, when it came to comic books, I was huge into Spider-Man. But anyway. So
yeah, back on topic.
Yeah, so the main issue here with this recent addition is they've done it with no setup, and it's just been kind of thrown into what are called. So in the game of 40k, in terms of the tabletop, there's this thing called codexes. Codexes are kind of they're whole booklets.
Kind of like I was about to say like Metal Gear Solid, but because they're kind of called the same thing, but no. Instead, you're like reading text,
Well, with codexes, they're a rule book within the greater game of 40k for specific factions, and within them they have a lot of lore. Everything that's in a given codex is considered canonical to the setting. So in the one that's coming for the latest edition of 40k, there's been some recent YouTubers who have been reviewing it before it's officially out yet. And in it, there's a short story from the perspective of a female Custodes. In 40 plus years of this hobby existing, this is the first time a female Custodes has ever been pitched, let alone mentioned.
What if this Custodia is Mulan?
I mean, for as much of the retcon, them willing to just change a piece of fundamental lore for Custodes at the blink of a hat and with no ceremony like that, I wouldn't at this point. Why not just add in Mulan? Why not add in? Why not go add in Rapunzel and shit? At this point, it doesn't feel as out of place with how much they just don't give a shit about any level of integrity.
Actually, this is kind of off topic, but it's still related to the joke I just made. I read this book in middle school called The Breadwinner. It's like about an Afghanistani girl who disguises as a boy because, you know, they have a patriarchy over there. But yeah, it's a really good book. Like just do that. You want diversity? Add an Afghanistani girl. Add the chick from Breadwinner. Call up the writer. I'm loving it, people. So yeah, you know, when it comes to all this woke BS, like, you know, it's been very degrading to my mind, like, especially after hearing Pokemon, at least Internationals, getting into it. I'm like, oh god. It's like, yeah, it's been like giving me low self-esteem, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna stay off the internet for a while, and I'm just gonna go explore the great outdoors and stick to old stuff. Like, hey, that's the lifestyle I've ever dreamed of. So yeah, you know. Oh, and again, kind of off topic, but it still relates to, you know, improving your mental health after such a bad subject like the DEI bullcrap. It's like, you know, there's this common misconception that everyone's like, again, I'm a Gen Zer myself. It's like, oh, Gen Zers, they always want to be on their phones. The movie industry is doomed. No one wants to do their schoolwork anymore. Like, I think we're all going to learn, at least at one point in our lives, that we need to, like, you know, put it down, not just because of our mental health, but because of everyday stuff. And I feel like that's a perfect opportunity. I mean, not that I haven't learned that before, but it's like, you know, it's very encouraging to teach people that. And I think people are going to get that through their minds, like, by the time they're about, like, 15 or 16 or something like that. But yeah. Well, not 15 or 16, at least close to adulthood. But yeah.
I would say you're looking for closer to 19 or 20. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And yeah.
Yeah. And you mind if I ask one more question before I leave?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Are you friends with a guy named Combine by chance?
Combine.
Not
off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone like that.
I asked
Maybe
that because I watched a live stream a long time ago, and his voice sounded like a guy from another group I used to be a part of. Well, not really a group, but yeah, and his name was Combine, and his voice was very similar. So yeah, you know, like if that was the case, I'd be like, it's a small world after all. But yeah, all right, take care, good night. It's about 12 o'clock where I live, so yeah.
Sure. Well, get some rest, man. Thank you for coming on.
You too.
Yeah, I don't know what Combine. I know by another name. Hey, King of Carcosa, would you be willing to hop into to a call? Don't worry, N-Train. You are up next. I'm just curious about it, because so far I've had like everybody who's come in has like been like on my side or like agreeing with me, and I do think it'd be good for the conversation if I brought in somebody who may not necessarily be staunchly like the opposite of me, but is like against at least my general sentiment. So, Carcosa, would you be willing to come in? All right. Just to help you out, I'll share the link again in chat, and that goes for anybody else who'd like to participate in the calls. AMJ, welcome to the stream. Massive Cope here. Maybe it's a Calidus Assassin, Massive as a Custodes. It didn't give me that vibe, and if that's the case, why would they refer to Kesh as a custodian? Don't get me wrong. It's not like I want like this to be a female Custodes for sure. Like if we finally do get the codex out and there was like a crucial piece of like the short story missing that explained that this is a Sisters of Silence that is just being referred to as a custodian, or it's an assassin being, whatever the case may be, and it's just like this huge misconception, I will gladly admit I'm wrong and be happy I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to be correct, but I feel I am with jumping on this assumption train. But I will admit if I'm wrong, like when this codex comes out, by the way. Don't get this wrong, everybody. Everybody who's watching and everybody who sees my videos. I will make a video admitting I was wrong with a smile. With a smile. All right, so Blast J Casual. Is that you, Carcosa? So you haven't jumped into general waiting room, or if you jump into general waiting room, I can pull you in. And again, apologies to everybody else who's been waiting in line. I do just want to like pull in somebody with like an opposing point of view for a convo. Nope, you're Blash. Oh, okay. Hobby McBob. Oh, Hobby McBob just joined in. Okay. Okay. Alright, Bobby McBob. Okay, I'm gonna pull you in, man. Alright, can you hear me? Oh. If you're on... Oh, I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
Alrighty. So, you've been in the chat and you've been disagreeing with me, which is fine, by the way. In fact, I encourage it. So what is your take on this,
though? I only just found out like an hour ago about the whole change and what happened, so I'm still running my thoughts through it, I'd say. But I don't think I'm hard against what you're saying, but I have some questions, maybe.
Yeah, feel free to shoot.
So I think from what you're getting at, you're worried about obviously the future, and if GW makes further changes in this regard, that further invalidates the pre-established lore. Yeah,
absolutely. That is my main concern.
Yeah, and I obviously don't want that necessarily either, but I question how much this individual thing is going to have an impact if they are indeed testing the waters for something further like female space marines. But I feel like making like a female space marine is a lot larger of a change than making a female custody, where I don't really see the big negative to this specific action, I guess.
Now, here's where you might be misunderstanding like where I'm coming from.
Sure.
I agree with you that this isn't as big as female space marines. But for me, what I'm seeing is like down the road. Like, part of my problem with this is I see this as unlocking the gate and opening the path to female space marines. Hence why I'm reacting as if we were talking about female space marines in terms of that severity.
Yeah, as if that happened.
So that's where I'm coming from. I don't think that female Custodes in a pocket is as bad as female space marines, because everyone is correct when they say that that there is nothing in the lore that, like with space marines, has explicitly said that they can't be.
Yeah, it was
girls.
like noble sons of terror or whatever, but it's a minor change. Yeah,
I still think the change doesn't. I don't think there's any objective improvement to the faction.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think I can agree. There's not really an improvement by making a female custodian. In fact, I think if they did it as a Sister of Silence, that would have been an improvement if they gave them attention. Absolutely. But they didn't. But I don't necessarily agree that this is going to cause or is a massive influx of, for lack of a better term, like wokeness into the hobby. Obviously, we've seen stuff like that happen with other fandoms, but I'm not sure how much this will really signal that. They might be trying to open up to a wider audience. That could be their reasoning. It could be many things, but yeah, I don't know if I agree with the vast majority of people in general freaking out about it being, this is the end of the hobby, or in future down the line, this is going to cause big problems. This is going to be big waves that are, going to ruin the hobby for me. And obviously, someone can have their opinion, and if they don't want to be in the hobby with any changes like this, they're welcome to do that.
Right. Can I ask you something then in regards
Sure.
to this? What would be a sufficient level of a change for you to accept that there might be a push towards something like female space marines, or towards a level of wokeness? Because for me, I see this pretty firmly as opening the gate or placing the first stone down as they continue to build up.
I
So,
can see this possibly being that, but I would think, hopefully it doesn't come to this, but a really drastic change would signal it for me. This doesn't feel drastic to me, I think is the big thing.
do you know about the boiling the frog concept?
Yeah, I know the term. I know the analogy of, doing small things to build up to a larger effect that someone won't notice.
Right. And that's what I would say they're trying to do. Because a lot of like the wokeness and stuff like that, in terms of the going a little outside of 40k here, going towards like entertainment spheres as a general, a lot of the back and forth that has occurred between woke and anti-woke communities has mainly been because in the last like 5 or 6 years, woke communities have begun to just kind of shave off entirely any level of subtlety, and they've just been jumping headlong into doing, like using the frog analogy, turning up the boiler all the way up, as opposed to easing their way up.
Easing. I think we saw that with like Star Wars.
Yeah,
example,
and I think that where we're kind of hitting a lot more, where they're getting a lot more backlash with that, I think they're trying to go back to a more subtle method, and I see that as this. I see this as they're going back to starting with a slow boil and hoping we don't notice, and hoping that everyone jumps in with the defense of, oh, well, it's not the same as female Space Marines because of this and because of that. They're hoping for that kind of leniency, and then they're hoping to move from there. That's how I see it.
Question about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Somewhat in regards to that, even if something like that were to start to happen, they're boiling the frog. Some people might be deterred by that. I think I myself might be as well. But would it really, to you, would it affect your enjoyment of like the hobby side of the game or the pre-existing novels that we already had? I know there's an idea of maybe trust is broken, like we can't, think of anything as concrete if they change stuff so willy-nilly. But would it affect your opinion of stuff that we've already had created, I suppose?
It will. It won't ruin it completely for me, but it would affect my overall view of things, because one of the enjoyments of a hobby space like this is talking with other fans about the lore and talking about like the future of the hobby. That's a general question that I think every group, not even just like in 40k, but across any fandom.
Yeah, I think everyone can agree with that.
Yeah, like one part of the fun of those communities is like talking with other fans and talking about where things are going and getting excited for the latest updates, whether you're talking about video games, whether you're talking about novels, whether you're talking about comics. Doesn't matter. Every fan base has that adoration and that hopefulness for the future, and they want to be able to talk about those things. So in regards to how it'll affect my existing material, it will leave me with a somber feeling if should 40k go entirely into a politicized mess, and should it become something unrecognizable to what it was. Though I will always enjoy Horus Rising, Galaxy in Flames, Fulgrim, any of those original novels, Flight of the Eisenstein, though I will always love those and I'll always be able to read them and enjoy them, if this goes through, I will always finish those books, finish those chapters with the lingering somberness that it's now going nowhere.
Like a sour taste in the mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can understand that. And I can't speak if I would feel the same way unless it were to happen, which truthfully, truly, I hope things don't get that far.
I do too.
I don't want that to happen, but maybe I'm huffing some hopium in that this isn't truly going to push us that far over the edge. I think
here's the thing. I hope you're right. By the way, like,
yeah,
I get no dissatisfaction if I'm right.
Even if it happens, I will try and find a way to enjoy the hobby in one way or another. Like, I'll always enjoy building and painting my miniatures and collecting up an army. And I will still enjoy the world that was created beforehand, even if I don't agree with what's happening in the modern or the future.
Yeah, and I'm the same. Like, I will always love 40k and love my memories of it, and I will always collect miniatures of some form. I just won't be doing it from GW directly. Like, 3D printing. There's lots of files out there that are satisfactory, if not superior quality sometimes. The originals. I also, as it is, my pile of shame is immensely high, so
You and I both.
yeah, so if anything, boycotting their stuff is probably something I should have done, regardless of issues or not, just as an excuse to get my stuff done. But with, like for me, it's just I can't go forward with the supporting them ruin, for lack of a better word, the future of the hobby as I see it. Now, again, I'm hoping I'm wrong about all of this, and that this is it. This is a grand misunderstanding with the few screenshots and stuff that we've been able to ascertain about that short story. And I'm also let's say even if that's all correct and there is female custodians, I do hope they just cut it off there. Like, I hope that, my worry that it's a step towards something worse, like female Space Marines, that they don't go that route. Again, this is me hoping I'm wrong. I don't get any satisfaction with being right in this regard.
It's the hope that maybe this is the only change. If they are going to do changes, leave it at this then.
Yeah.
I think I agree. I think I will still not necessarily support GW's actions if they did that, but I don't think it would end up stopping me from buying a cool miniature if I saw one that came out new or doing anything like that. I would have the sour taste in my mouth if it went the, shall we say, Star Wars route. But in the case of the Custodian, this whole fiasco, if they, maybe they'll have some sort of explanation for it, good or not, we'll see. Or maybe they won't, but they'll leave it at this. Or maybe they won't and they will keep going. I'd be all right with the first two. All right enough with the first two.
For me, it's very dependent on their approach with this. A huge factor is if this is truly a retcon or an add-on. If it's an add-on, they need to have one hell of a, not only a good explanation, but an intriguing one. One that actually feels like, it feels like it's setting appropriate, and there's a reason. This isn't for woke points or anything like that. This is for something they genuinely thought would add to it. And if they have that, then I'll be satisfied. I just fear that this isn't what that is.
Yeah, give us a reason why there's a female custodian and you didn't just, update Sisters of Silence with more lore.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, I think most of the existing fans of Custodes will agree with me here at the very least. More SOS stuff. We want more Sisters of Silence stuff.
We all do. There's not enough.
There's absolutely not enough. Like, Sisters of Battle got such a revamp of support. They still lack in some areas, in my opinion, but they've had a huge revamp of support in the last 10 years. SOS is still painfully minimal, so I would like a lot more for them.
Yeah, and we can hope for that. I think I'm still figuring out my thoughts on the whole thing, but all in all, I don't think I'm too overly concerned. I think that's my general outlook. And I'm not. I don't find myself really caring if there's a female custodian, or that there are female custodies out there. I want them to come up with a good reason, but if they don't, that's not ruining anything for me. It's disappointing, but not ruining. And I think a lot of, I said, doomsday preaching about it isn't being helpful with it either. I think some people, not you, other people I've seen in other posts, other comment sections, do a disservice to the dilemma that we're at by screaming about, oh, this ruined the hobby's dead, GW, killed it all. I feel like that's muddying the water.
No, the thing is that if you put that criticism on me, that's a fair criticism to put, especially with my video. My video is very doomerish. I even said so in it. So that's a fair criticism if you were to put that on me.
Truthfully, I haven't seen your full video yet, so.
Yeah, well for me, I did in it call for boycotting. So, that's a fair criticism if you want to put on me. And again, I do still
You're
call
welcome
for
to
it.
that opinion.
I call for that if it's what I think it is. Now, if I end up being wrong, I would definitely retract that and apologies being made. But I still firmly believe the motivation behind this was woke points and political stuff, and I think
And I
that
think it could be.
yeah,
I think there's a more than likely that probably was what it was for. I can believe that, but even that being true, if it stays at this, that doesn't bother me too much.
if it stays at this and we don't again, if my fears are completely invalid, I'll retract. But as it stands right now, I'm fairly confident in my worry. I hope to be wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. I hope it doesn't go further either.
So that's where I'm coming from, and I'm very happy you came on to talk about it, man. I appreciate it because
Yeah, I hope this was helpful for you.
yeah, it was.
It was actually good for me to talk about it too. So
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
yes, thank you for having me.
No problem. All right,
Adios.
Bye bye. That was nice. All right. So intern, I'm about to pull you in. Before I do, let me just skim the chat. A lot of you guys are talking, so this is gonna be a skim. I can't read every comment. Okay, I'm not seeing anything that like catches my eye that I need to respond to. Okay, I heard a Spanish word. Who called? He said adios. Oh, that's Italian. What am I doing? I've been up too long. Thanks for chatting about it and hold the discussion so civilly. Yeah, I mean, that's the point of my open mics, right? My individual commentary style videos where I talk about this stuff, that's for me to like get out like my exact thoughts and like my personal opinions. And it's less of a discussion. Obviously, it becomes one in the comment section, but the videos themselves are more or less just like, hey, this is my interpretation of this. This is my thoughts. But open mics, it's community. It's for the community. That's why I do these streams. And I think they're healthy, not only for myself, because they allow me like to calm down a little bit and see things from another perspective, but it also lets other people might, see my perspective and understand why I feel the way that I feel. It's not just between me and the community. It's also between the community, me, and maybe GW, maybe like each other. Like that's the point of these open mics. Is it's a open discussion, not open discussion about the topic, and I do try and keep it civil. Now, I have had people in the open mic who've come on in the past who haven't been so civil, and prior warning, I give what I get. So if you do come on here and you wanna blood sport it up, I'll oblige. I've done it in the past. Just saying. But I do prefer and do love to have civil discussions because it does usually result in a better mindset for everybody involved, and it also sometimes helps come to a conclusion that neither party really thought of initially. That's the upside with this. So that's the love of open mics for me. So let me pull in N-Train. Oh man, we have a lot of people. Yeah. Alright, N-Train, how you doing, man?
Hello, doing good. Let me mute stream, okay.
Alright, so what are your thoughts on the female custody?
Well, like I'm probably in I think I'm somewhat in the doom wagon with you. Like because the way how I'm viewing this thing from my perspective, this is like the breach and like I just view this as like a breach in the wall situation where they're simply gonna use it as a way to like get a foot in the door, and then just try to like slowly inch up and get more and more stuff like okay you without female custodian. Well, about like like saying change some other stuff like to the point we're now getting like female space marines and like stuff that make no sense. I from my perspective, I view it kind of like that, and I that's why I'm very hesitant with this kind of change here. Like like even if it's like I get like the last guy kind of saying, if you leave it at that, be fine. Even then, me, I go like, no, because I will always, from my perspective, it would just be a crowbar in the back door that they can just use like years of the line to just wrench open the back door. It's just like how I see it.
No, no, and again, like that's so it seems like we're aligned in like similar thoughts.
Yeah,
Like it's the
just-
worry that this is being done to kind of supplant things and try and reach through the
Yeah.
hobby.
Yeah, because like it's like it's the same thing. I kind of saw, like I said before, like the previous scene, like on the Fall Arcadia. I did not like that. I did not like the Primaris Marines. It's just like it going down, and it's like the whole female space marine. This I did not like that, and this is just I just see this as another like addition to the things. Like, okay, people are trying to do radical changes that I personally do not like as much. Like some stuff could be written better, like the Falcadia. That's a entire separate topic. The Primaris Marine, I don't like. I really don't like their lore. The female space marine discussion, like that. Why are we having conversations about that? Like that makes no sense. Now this one here is like, why have female custodian? Because it just opened up the argument of, well, if you can have, if custodians are better version of space marine to some degree, like 2 to 3 space marines, how come we don't have female space marines if we have a female custodian? It's like it opened up that argument, and I do not, like I said, I don't give like I think I want to give DW the benefit of the doubt and say this was a typo that they somehow miss. I want to, but at the same time, it's DW. I don't trust them.
No, I don't either. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Like the thing is, like, to me, I'm not going to abandon 40k, like, because there's old stuff I have. I still have the old books, like Cypher's Kane, the Horus Heresies, like like that kind of stuff. I still like, I enjoy watching like lore videos from you and Arch kind of stuff. I still, I can still engage 40k kind of stuff without touching the new lore, and just see where the ship goes kind of thing. But it's like I'm not as optimistic. I'm kind of worried kind of thing. But I'm not gonna immediately jump ship. I'm gonna try to like stay with it as much I can go with, basically, before I.
No, I get you, man. I again, it seems like we're of the same mind,
Yeah.
man. Like it's the worry that what this is going to represent for the future. And again, I hope that Carcosa earlier is correct in the sense of being like a nothing burger.
I agree.
Yeah, like that's the fingers crossed thing. But
Yeah.
I can't see why else they would do this if not to start something down the road. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that all you had to say, man?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew there was gonna be a short one, but I just have to get this off my chest here. It's like, oh.
No, that's fine, man. We're here to accept your venting. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, see you guys. See you later.
All right, see you later, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye.
No problem. Bye-bye. All right, so Ultra Cred. I know you've been waiting for a while. I want to pull in another person who's been in the Discord here, chatting pretty consistently here. Jessica S. They seem to be in favor of Fem Marines and Fem Custodes, so I'm gonna pull them in because I think that'd be interesting to discuss. Ah, yeah, Jessica, can you hear me? Oh. Hello? Jessica, are you on mobile by chance? Because sometimes Discord's weird about androids. Okay, it's weird. A true sister son. Oh. Okay. Alright, so she rejoined the general waiting room. Okay, I'm now confused. We've had a real sister silence. Oh god, that's actually very funny. Alright. I guess I could try and pull her in one more time. Should I just say what Alright, let me try yoinking her back if it disconnects her again. Let's try this. Alright, how about now? Or did the yoinking re-disconnect? If so, I have a plan B. Okay. So it looks like we have to go with plan B. Okay, Jessica, rejoin general waiting room, and I'm going to give you a role so you can see the invisible chat, and then you just join in it. If you can hear me. They're using sign language. Sorry, that's an insult to deaf people. I can't sign. I learned how to say my name when I was a kid, but that's it, and that's only if I ever was dealing with a deaf person that needed to know it. Alright, so I'm going to give Jessica my guest role, and that should allow her to see the call line. Alright, Jessica, you should be able to see the call line in the Discord. Just hop right in. Because I think this might be like the mobile Android thing. Because Discord is weird with like Android phones. Or it might be more so Android is weird with the Discord app. But if you get like yoinked between calls by somebody, and like they try to pull you in a different room, sometimes it doesn't. It like disconnects your audio for some reason. All right, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, there we
Hi.
go. Hi.
Hi, my name's Jessica.
Nice to meet you. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts on this? Because I've seen a little bit of what you've been saying in the general chat. Not everything, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on all of this discussion.
Now, the female custody thing, I think given that the context that it was just a paragraph in the codex.
Well, it was actually 2 or 3 pages.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a full short story inside the codex. If you wanted a good preview, in my video, I shared a directed link to someone reviewing the codex. They didn't actually review the short story, but they did scroll past it when they were flipping the pages. And the whole short story appeared to be roughly 3, maybe 4 pages.
I think that is kind of nice. I think it would be kind of cool to explore like exactly more how much like training and stuff you would have to go through to get to that point. But I don't really have much of a problem with it.
All right.
Because I mostly just think that people are badass when they have big armor and they fight things.
All right. So just reading like one of the first things you said when you entered the Discord, you said female space marines would be easy to add, just make her transgender.
Yeah.
Why though?
Well, that would be the easiest way to make them.
Yeah,
I think that would be.
But why do it in the first place? Why do space marines or Custodes need to be female?
They don't need to be female, but they could if they wanted to. That's just
Not according to the lore. According to the lore, only men can be space marines. Now, Custodes, there's part of the discussion to be had. There's no establishment limiting that, but in the lore, there is establishment that Space Marines, Astartes, can only be male because their entire genetic process is based on the male biology, which is encoded into the gene seed. It has in-universe explanation in terms of the details, so they can't be. Without retconning and removing or violating the lore to do so.
I think that it would be a pretty interesting story to explore of a space marine doing themselves post all of the genetic modification that would have happened. And I think, like, yes, that would have a lot of trans allegories to some people who would read it.
Well, you could
Because
say, well, with the allegory thing, that's like person to person subjective interpretation of like taking things out of, a story. But couldn't that trans thing just apply to the normal male Space Marines that go through their transhuman processing? And granted, I don't think that's the intended allegory, but as a subjective allegory, you could take away from it. Couldn't you do that with
yeah,
the male Custodes? And or male
among
Astartes?
amongst the transgender community that exists in Warhammer, it is a fun little headcanon that there probably are trans mask space marines. Because if you put someone who was AFAB through the process, they would end up looking like a guy at the end.
Okay.
It's just the
So no judgment, but just out of curiosity, are you? So I'm gonna ask this. Feel free to answer or don't. Are you sleep deprived at the moment? You sound really tired.
I am kind of tired.
Okay. Uh, so I don't want to have this discussion if you're too tired to like.
Oh no, I'm fine.
Yeah, I just I feel like there's like a disconnect from what I'm saying and what you're saying in response. So that's like part of my concern with like having the discussion is I don't want to like have the discussion and then like this be this big disconnect. I'd rather like have the discussion like when you're more awake and that way like the back and forth can be a little bit more fluid. So is it all right if
It's
we?
more
Oh, sorry. Go
it's
ahead.
more with the attitude I have towards the stuff when it comes to representation in Warhammer, like female space marines and stuff, is like, I don't care. I think it would be cool. It's just kind of a why not?
Well, for me, it's why.
And for me, it's why not? Because I don't see anything negative for having them.
I see nothing wrong if you want to
So
have a fan fiction for those things. I see it wrong if you want to alter the existing canon to facilitate it.
why would it be wrong to alter the canon?
Because the canon, the setting, is it's this pre-established chunk of lore that people came into the hobby enjoying and liking for what it is. To alter it to cater to a minority within the community, a new minority at that, it's a spit in the face of the people who liked the existing established material. Because that is what we grew attached to. Changing
What do you
it
mean
for
new
catering sake
minority?
is, and also it's unnecessary. Again, you can have fan fiction. Like you can have like people who paint like their own fanfic of a space marine army that's female space marines or transgender space marines. You could do that. Absolutely. There's no problem with that. And in fact, it's encouraged. It just doesn't need to be canon. And other people don't need to accept it within canon. Everything in canon, though, is everything that we all mutually have to cling on to and like as hobbyists. And for what's already established, that shouldn't change to cater to again a minority within the community. Especially when, again, that interest, that intrigue, you can facilitate yourselves through fanfiction.
I'm going to say this with no like mean intent for it, but you have never had to worry about representation yourself. I don't think you've ever had to worry about what it has felt like to not be represented in something.
Why do you think that? Other than my skin color and my outward appearance, what do you know about me?
I can obviously tell that you go by he, him, so I assume that you are male, if that is fine for me to say.
Yeah, that is correct. But what about me that actually matters, do you know?
I can tell that you matter, that the brotherhood that is implied in Space Marines matters to you, because I assume that you probably like that aesthetic of a group of guys all fighting together.
True, I do value that. But the question was more in regards to me as a person. Because you said you feel that I've never felt a lack, an absence of representation. But the thing is, with the representation argument as a whole, I consider it rather shallow. Because oftentimes the conversation of representation is always within regards to the idea that what you see in something has to look and basically mirror you for you to feel represented by it. The thing is, I have seen characters that are black, gay, and black, gay, and alien creatures and stuff like that that are nothing even like me whatsoever, but I can still enjoy them and find things within them that I appreciate. So when it comes to the lack of representation, in a way you're correct. I've never felt a lack of representation because I don't need to be represented to enjoy something. One of my favorite fictional characters is a character named Cisco from a Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He is a black, assertive, strong man. I am not black. I can be strong in certain circumstances, but generally I wouldn't describe myself as a super strong person, and I'm not very assertive. This man does not represent or reflect any features about me, yet I have a kinship with the character that I really enjoy. I don't need to be anything like him. I don't need to be represented by him in any fiscal, meaningless way, such as his outward appearance, his skin color, his gender, his sexual preference. None of that has any impact whatsoever on whether or not I relate to the character. Because none of that matters whatsoever as a person to person. That's all very surface level stuff about a person. What matters is all of the internal stuff. It's the motivation, it's the hardships, it's the spiritual stuff that matters. So I find it interesting that you're kind of harping on the representation element when that doesn't matter whatsoever. Because the angle of it that you're obsessing over is gender, race, sex, all of this meaningless stuff that doesn't matter.
Gender matters a lot to me.
To you, but objectively it doesn't.
Changed it.
And why is it gender matters so much to you?
I went through hormone transition because I did not feel safe or at home in the body that I was born in.
All right.
I changed my name legally.
All right. How does that change who you are on the inside, though? That's all just your physical aspect.
I was always a girl on the inside.
Exactly. So if you were always a girl on the inside, all of that didn't change who you were, right? That didn't change how you thought. That didn't change who you were.
That is changing my perception of self.
Not really. You always perceived yourself as a girl. You just went through the process of actually physically changing, but you always saw yourself that way.
Hmm.
Correct?
Yeah.
So what mattered most was how you saw yourself on a spiritual level, who you are on the inside. So when it comes to how you interact with others, do you make judgment calls on them based solely on the outside? Or do you, when you like watch a show or a movie and you see a character that's really compelling, but is nothing like you in any, like, they're not the same gender as you, they're not the same skin color as you, they're not the same hair color as you, they don't represent you outwardly in any way, shape, or form, but they might be very heroic, or they might be very effeminate, and they might like to, whatever your hobbies may be, they might like the same things as you, they might have the same kind of like attitude as you. Though they may not represent you in any physical, and again, in my opinion, very meaningless ways, they might represent you or might relate to you, not necessarily represent, to you on a human level, spiritual. Because that's what matters when we talk about get character to character things. When it talks about the reason representation as an argument for or against something is complete bullshit is because it's always based on it is, because it's always based around gender, it's based around sex, it's based around race, it's based around the least important details about a person, because all of those things are the least important things about you. Don't get me wrong, they do help define you, but what matters most is who you are on the inside.
Those other factors do, though, affect a lot of how you interact in the world.
They do, but again, they're not the most important. Like, all of those things are the very first things you learn about a person. Everything after is what matters most, though. Like, again, what their hobbies are, what their loves are, what their tastes are, all of these things are what matter most about a person. Their gender, their race, their sex, that's just the initial interactions with a person. They go completely out the window after you've said, "Hi, my name is," and you actually get to know the person. So if you are an open-minded person and you are willing to actually like delve into something, you'll never feel unrepresented wherever there is a creative work. You could read a story about the straightest cis white man ever, but if the way he goes through struggles and strife relates to you, then none of that should matter after that point. Likewise with any other race or any other combination of race, gender, or sexual preference. All of those are, again, the first things you learn about a person, and after you've learned them and you've got to know them past that, they completely go out the window.
I will say that I do, a lot of the time, identify with people who do not look or act a lot like me, but the thing is, when it's somebody who does, and especially if it was someone who was trans like me, it is a much deeper felt connection.
Why?
Because I relate a lot more to their struggles than I do pretty much almost anyone else.
But that's based on the assumption the struggles were the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is a very shaky ground to stand on, considering what. Okay. So let's say a poor trans person living in the Bronx in New York, barely able to afford rent, definitely can't afford hormone therapy. And then they encounter a rich white trans person who is able to afford all the surgeries, able to afford all the hormone therapy, and has gone through the whole process of the change. And you think the two of those had the same struggle just because they were both trans?
Oh yeah, definitely. When you're trans, you spend a good amount of your life questioning why you don't feel the way that everybody is supposedly saying that you should feel. Why do people think I act weird? Why do they think I should be acting like this? I don't want to act like this. It's that level of knowing that that who you are as a person does not match what the doctor assigned you as when you were born.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I think we're not gonna get anywhere with this conversation. But thank
That's okay.
thank you for coming on though. I appreciate the back and forth regardless. I hope
Thank you for having me.
yeah, no problem. I hope you have an amazing night or day.
Remove the whatever title thing, so I don't just have access to a bunch of stuff.
No, it's fine. I just removed it. Yeah, sorry about that, chat. That went on a. Admittedly, it was my fault, but that went on a tangent. Sorry. Okay. Ultra you've waited long enough. My apologies. Hey. Nope. You still. Oh, there you go. Oh. Can you hear me? I am on Android as well. Okay. So, Ultra can you jump in general waiting room? I'm going to give you the guest role so you can hop right in. Because I think, assuming you're on Android or mobile, it might disconnect you. Let me know if you can hear me at all.
Okay, let me try.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. There we go.
Right, okay, seems to be working.
All right, awesome. All right, so how you doing?
Doing fine.
All right, awesome. So what are your thoughts on the female Custodes stuff?
Right, first, I am Mexican only, by the way.
Well, how you doing, man?
I have, sorry, I'm having a loop over here on my end. Let me just close the stream for a moment.
Oh, that's fine.
Right, there you go. Okay. Well, I think first of all, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Although we met before, well, we've met in terms of my screen chat before, but nice
Yeah.
to be talking to you in audio though.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm new to this. I don't see. I think I agree more with the point that this is. I don't think this is a an end or the beginning of the end. Not as of yet. There are a lot of things that we do not know about this. I started playing or I started the hobby just in January. As far as I've been around it for a while. Mainly playing video games, but I started painting in January, and I decided to go Custodes because I just like the Golden Boys. That was the only fucking reason. Sorry, I can say fucking, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Already did the time. Anyway, and I don't see this much as a contention point. However, I do agree that it seems a little bit sneaky. But let me ask you this: if the situation or the environment was not the environment that we are living right now, that we're the Warhammer community and Games Workshop has been hounded by tourists requesting female space marines. If that hadn't happened, how do you think the reception to this paragraph or this short story will have been?
All right, so just let me make sure I understand your question correctly. So, if we were not in the political climate or the woke climate that we're currently in right now, how do I think this would be reacted to?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll just make sure I understand the question. If we were not in the current climate we are right now, I think it'd be reacted to, and certainly in my case, with a lot less aversion, fear, and hostility. I think it would be still questioned. I think a lot of people would still raise an eyebrow, but not because of worry of political pandering, because again, we're in an assumption that in the climate is political free, or at the very least, political pandering free. So my best assumption is most people would be confused by the addition and slash alteration slash retcon. It would be questioned, but I think most people would just kind of let it
Yeah,
slide.
accept it and move on, right?
Yeah, more so.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest part on this is that we've been for years since the old Gamergate situation back in like, what in 2010, 2012, or something like that. We've been very on edge on any kind of situation like this because it is essentially bullshit. And right now, we don't have the codex on us, right? The book is not out, and this is just a purely it is on the book, or at least it is on the book that it was sent to the early reviewers, but it is not out yet officially. So yeah, and we start thinking, okay, it might be Games Workshop just testing the waters. They want to know if they can get away with changing the Custodes, because in the lore they never said that the Custodes were all male. They just said that they were very very important or very capable human beings. As far as I know, I'm still not that well versed on the lore, but that's what I remember. So yeah, there's the loophole in there that you can use to say, okay, it says humans, or they were humans, and they right now, well, humans involve women, right? So we can have female custodes. I think we are. I will urge only a voice of caution on this, just to move forward. Always, we sadly, from the background that we have to be very vigilant on this and gatekeep. But I don't think, at least on my point, I still have. I'm painting right now my Custodes, and I haven't even played them. But yeah, I'm not going to from this, I'm not going to move back from 40k. I understand where you're coming from. I just don't share the same standpoint. I think not now. Maybe later. Maybe if they drop the mask and they say, okay, we're going to move on with female space marines, and god damn it, whatever. Yeah, at that point I'm going to say, okay, you're just giving up your what made part of what made the lore or the universe enticing to many people. You're just giving that away right now because you're giving to pressure, outside pressure. But yeah, that I think that will be my point so far.
No,
I
yeah,
don't know if
I understand where you're coming from, and it seems like we agree on the fundament of being cautious and being worried. I think so. If I understand what you were saying correctly, you're just not willing. You don't think this is enough to pull back or start taking action of like boycotting stuff. Is that my understanding of like where we're differing?
yeah, but I think and correct me if I'm wrong, because as I said, I just started on this on January. You've been on this for years, if I'm not mistaken. I seem to remember that you
Many years,
uh,
over a decade
yeah,
now.
you said that you started basically when you were in high school.
Yep.
And yeah, you I don't see, and this might be something that makes some people mad in the chat. I don't see the problem with primary space marines. I painted the previous ones. I like them. They're fun. They're funny. But I hated that they were all in the same freaking position. They were all squatting. I don't know.
Well,
As a model.
so the problem with Primaris is primarily playing words is primarily with the lore. Especially when they were first added. So imagine you spent decades of your life collecting and painting Marines, and then all of a sudden they came out with new Marines, but they had completely different stat sheets / data sheets, completely different base sizes, completely different point values, and in every way, shape, or form in all of those things, they were better. So all of the hundreds of dollars you'd spend on all of those existing ones you have is now feeling devalued because something identical to them in concept, but is slightly more buffed up, is now being sold out. And now when you go to tournaments and you go against them, despite the fact you might meet them point for point, unit for unit, you're at the back end. And the only way you can beat them is if you have superior strategy. And you do have to... You can't be of equal or equal standing with your opponent. Your opponent has to basically be dumber with their material. This is just from a gameplay standpoint. But this is contributing to why people hate Primaris. Is because they were just bigger, badder Space Marines. And they came out of nowhere. So from a tabletop side of things, it just felt like, why would you have Firstborn when these things, stat-wise, are way better? So
I get it.
That
I think I get it now.
That's one big reason to hate them. Another one is the lore front. They were added out of the blue, and with very little ceremony, and with hardly any pre-work done to establish them. And once they just kind of came into the scene, they also came with the caveat of they were made by a Gary Stu character, a male Mary Stu, that is Call, who was able to improve upon the Emperor's design with the Astartes by himself. And he's just a tech priest.
It's supposedly to be the tech priest, but that's part of why I don't think that this is this at least female Custodes, if it is, because what I'm thinking or what I'm guessing it might be is that, and I hope, because after painting the Sisters of Silence, I see that they need a lot of love from Games Workshop, because it's only 3 different ranges for them. It is either she's carrying a sword, she's carrying a flamer, or she's carrying a bolter. That's it. No, nothing else, and that sucks. What I hope is that they are going to consider them fully Custodes and not a Sister of Silence add on to the Custodes army. That they are all part of the Adeptus Custodes. That's what I'm hoping for, lore-wise at least. My point being that at the end of the day, once they introduce Call, as far as I know, because again, I'm not that deep into the lore. I've been scratching the surface for years, but only in video game form. And I know that those are good introduction to 40k, but they are not the deepest lore. I haven't read any book so far, other than Gaunt's Ghost, I think. But yeah. Anyway, they've been working on the backstory of Belisarius Cole, as far as I know.
Well, it depends on which backstory you're talking about, which apparently he all has simultaneously.
I'm sorry?
He has like 7 backstories.
Yeah, but
and
yeah,
they're all canon somehow.
My point being is that they are trying at least to find a way to connect his past with the present, and they've been working on that to more or less some success. And I know there's a camp of quote unquote veterans of the game that they do not like these changes. I've seen your streams. You know me. I'm a lurker on your chat.
Yeah.
And I remember that you said that you didn't like how this was going. The introduction of the Primarchs, the changes to the whole setting, that it is abandoning the in your perspective, because to me, I still see it a little bit grim dark. They're just sparking a little bit of movement up forward. That's how I see it. not necessarily is the way that I see it. But
Well, let me tell you this. Objectively, they are by bringing back the Primarchs, they are objectively abandoning the grimdark tone. Because what established the grimdark tone and maintained it was the fact that everything was stagnant or falling apart. It was the fact that the optimistic, strong era of the Crusades was over and they were on the downturn. Everything was screwed. Everything was fucked. Everything was falling down. Bringing back the Primarchs, therefore also bringing back innovation and eventually a willingness to actually start inventing technology again, and bringing in that element that's killing. I'm sorry, you can't argue that it's still grimdark after bringing that in. People would say, "Oh, it's still grimdark because there's still people dying. Oh, it's still grimdark because there's chaos is still invading worlds and the Tyrant is still eating people." No, it's not, because all that was not what made it grimdark. That added to the grimdark, but what made it grimdark was on top of those evils coming in and killing everybody, there was nothing being done on the back end societally to improve quality of life, to improve defenses, to improve the universe. We were screwed, like, entirely. The whole point of bringing the Primarchs in and the whole turn of the stories are now is an optimistic, we're actually bringing the fight to them. We're actually fighting back. We actually have a hope of winning. And that immediately defeats what a grimdark is. Grimdark isn't, oh, it's a little dark right now, or it seems a little hopeless. No, grimdark is, it is hopeless. Like, there is no chance in the long run we're going to win. We're just trying to go out in such an epic way as we possibly can. We're trying to make it as painful for the enemies as possible to destroy us. But it's without question that we will be destroyed. That is what grimdark is. And with the Primarchs coming back, they're undoing that entirely.
Well, again, my lack of knowledge on the deep lore on this, but correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I understood, even when Gilliman returned, he was placed, or at least his story arc so far has been, how deep in debt are we that I am not going to be able to do anything to save my father's legacy? That's his arc so far, right? Or am I wrong?
Can you say that again?
That as far as I understand in the story, the Gilliman's arc after his return has been, we are in deep shit. I'm not going to be able to rescue or salvage anything of my father's legacy. That everything is fucked, even with the Primarch that has returned.
Yes and no. It depends on the book, because this is the problem with having like 500 different writers.
Yeah.
But he has been going through a wave of depression and certainly a little bit of hopelessness, but he is still taking action to improve things, to my chagrin. But he is still doing things that the books are writing to actually be working to improve things, like unleashing the Primaris into the legions of Legiones Astartes, making strategic and specific choices with the Legiones Astartes as well as the Imperial Guard and the Forces of Man. He's replaced entire members of the Council on Terra, the High Lords of Terra. He's making actions, despite the fact that they're establishing he's depressed and he feels like he can't do anything. He is doing things that in the lore are described as actually working to improve things. And now that with the Lions coming back, again, that's further concreting that there is an upturn from grimdark. Like they're not maintaining the grimdark tone at all.
Okay, as I said, I'm coming from an experience that of mainly playing video games. That's where I got my lore. And the last one that I played, that I do recommend you if you haven't played it yet, Rogue Trader. I will recommend you to play it. I think you will love it.
The video game or the tabletop?
Yeah, the video game.
I did start playing it when it first came out. I can't remember why I stopped playing. I don't think I had a reason. I just stopped playing for a little bit and I forgot to get back to it. But
a little bit heavy on the technical issue on combat, but honestly, I think it is a very good introduction to 40k in lore, because you're playing just a simple human following.
You're not playing a simple human. You're playing a rogue trader.
Well, yeah, but basically, my point being is that you're not a space marine, you're not a custodian, you're not a superhuman. You have that that tablet, but you're essentially can be killed, or in story you can be killed by anything. But yeah, I think it's a good introductory, and I would recommend you to, if you want to do a stream on that. I think it will be fun. But anyways, yeah, my point being, on those games, I still feel that there's that hopelessness on the universe, or I'm not sure if that is isolated, as you mentioned. The problem over here is that we have like 20, 40, 60 different authors. They're moving in
Oh no, we
their own
have
way.
way more than that. Just in the Horus Heresy alone, that series, we have 57.
Holy shit! I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
there's 57
I thought it was
writers.
an Hamlet and a couple more. Damn it!
No, it's oh good god. I actually read the names off a few streams ago. Well, I say a few streams, I guess that would be a couple months ago. But I've read off the names in the past, just in the Horus Heresy alone. I mean, you have an immense number of authors. The Black Library is congested as all hell.
Yeah, and adding to that, that Games Workshop is intending to move lore wise, or adapt, or make the games canon, because that's at least those were the rumors, especially with the new Space Marine 2 that they're going to pull out, hopefully soon, because I really would like to play that game.
Yeah.
But anyways, apparently the Games Workshop is trying to make it all canon in some way. So I don't know why they are doing
man,
that.
I gotta cut you off because
Sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
I got other people waiting. But thank you for coming on and voicing your thoughts and stuff. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and see you later.
See you later.
Everybody in the chat. See you later, guys.
Bye bye. All right, so just eyeball in the chat real quick. Don't worry, I'm gonna keep going for a little while longer, guys. Don't worry. I especially don't want to wait everybody who's been waiting. I'll wait forever. Let me just eyeball chat. Hey, Greg, how you doing, man? Kill Team Hungry. Good morning. What in the name of God Emperor is happening during the night? Female Custodes, is this the end of the hobby already? Well, that's up to discussion, but as for the female Custodes thing, I made a video on it, Greg, if you want to check that out. But TLDR for anyone joining in just now, and for Greg. In the preview of, there's a short story in the upcoming, oh, he was still on the call, my bad. In the upcoming Codex Custodes, there was some leaked images of a short story that's within it, that's from the perspective, in terms of as it's written, from a female Custodes named Kesh. There's still some debate on if it'll actually end up, because the thing is, we don't have the whole thing listed out properly yet. Like, we haven't had proper screenshots of every single part of the short story. It seemed like it was like 4 pages or something like that. So it's pretty lengthy. But from what we could make out, it's definitely someone that is referred to as a custodian, that is a that is a lady. And yeah, that's the most we've been able to make out. It's up for debate, and if it's a literal custodian, as in not a custodes, but a custodian, or if it might be a Sister of Silence, and they're finally being just referred to as Custodes as well. There's debate there. But as far as I have seen, and what I've been able to make out of what's written, it seems very much leaning towards this is a custodian, or a custodes, that is a woman. There's been nothing I've seen there qualifying that it is a Sister of Silence that is just being called a custodian. I'm hoping that's the case. But we don't know yet. Anyway, CEO of NRE, Asmogan, side note, I am on mobile. Okay, I'm going to try and pull you in anyway. And if you can't hear me, or I can't hear you, I'll then give you the guest role and let you just hop in manually. Because that usually subverts it if you can do it manually. Also, I'm going to put in, just because we have so many people waiting, and so many people who want to talk, I'm going to, with a couple of exceptions, I'm going to limit everybody to, let's say, 5 minutes. I think that's still pretty generous, but I'm going to try and keep it fluid, because we have a lot of people who want to voice their thoughts. If 5 minutes isn't enough, depending on what people really want to say, I might extend it for some, but Yeah, let's try and do that. And just to be fair, I'm even gonna pull up a timer, and yeah, pull that right up on Google. All right, so I feel I maybe took a hefty amount of time. No, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, we're gonna put in. All right, I'm not gonna start the timer until I know we can like talk back and forth. So unmute yourself and let's see if we can talk or if it's not connecting.
Hello?
Oh, there we are. Alrighty.
Yeah, I had it mute. I still had it mute. But yeah. My opinion on this is that I do not like it. Not in the slightest.
Well, I agree with you.
But for a little bit of context, I started Warhammer 2020. I got into the lore during the summer and got my first model on my birthday during October. Not the best month, but that's an entire personal reason. But let's see. It's just such a weird change to have that makes so little sense. Taking context of lore and biology for one, but that's pretty much my side of the opinion. Is there anything you have to ask me?
I guess I'll throw a question that I was throwing earlier. Is there, like, if there was some kind of, I don't know if I'm gonna misword this, but I'll try and word it correctly. So, if this wasn't the political climate that it was, would you be accepting of female Custodes?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Because the reason being is because I like the dichotomy of the Space Marines and the Sisters of Battle. Having the Custodians and the Sisters of Silence, it works like the same thing. It'd be interesting if like maybe they split the factions like they did. So like the Sisters of Silence were their own separate thing and could be allied with the Custodians. If that makes sense.
Well, the Sisters of Silence already do work like that on the tabletop in terms of like allying with the Custodes.
I don't really play much at the tabletop. I only play the Xenos.
Fair enough. I mean, Sisters of Silence and Custodes have the same codex. It's part of why in the discussion with this latest stuff that the short story might potentially be referring to Kesh as a Custodes, but they might have finally be merging the Sisters of Silence and the Custodes as one force in the booklet. That's part of like the discussion is like maybe that's the goal here. But it's not very clear. They haven't added any qualifiers.
Even then, that's still kind of stupid. I like the distinction between the two.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's fun. Like, I just wish they would like actually go to the Sisters of Silence and actually do more with them, add more models, add more units, more stories, because they really are lacking in those.
Yeah, it'd be cool to have a full-on anti-psyker army of just women in power armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to say.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
I'll see you another time.
Likewise. Have a good one. And we did that within 4 minutes. All right, we might be able to do these times pretty good. All right, pulling in Caveman Maniac. Caveman Maniac, can you hear me?
Oh,
I
all right. Let me just pause the stream real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. We've had a lot of really good discussions.
Yeah, when I woke up this afternoon and saw all this, I was wondering why my roommate was going on a rant. And I'm looking at, I'm like reading over everything, and I think we just don't have the context as to whether she's a sister, one of the other faction. You know, it's like, is she a sister of Silence, and they're just Garner Custodes or anything? I'm kind of in that boat, but I've been fighting this stuff with since 2010. Um, I've lost so many jobs because of DEI initiatives. I've walked out of a lot of them. That this has been just, it's been like my Moby Dick almost. And I got into the hobby because of my roommate. So I've only been in the hobby about 8 months.
8 months.
But
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I had to join during such a tumultuous time.
Oh no. I just didn't understand why people were snarling at me when I would put down my Primaris Crusaders. I kind of understand now after watching videos about it. And
they're snarling at you.
As far as everything here, oh yeah, the hate I get when they see that I don't have classic the 1980s Crusaders. People get uppity about that at my shop. But recently, inside my company, we don't really have DEI, but I work for a security company. Problem is there's a new initiative that's been going around in corporate America called Bridge. And I just had to take a Bridge class the other day. And it's basically them putting this ideology into the corporate identity itself. So it's a lot more insidious than just some person over in an office making their bosses scared. So it's a total infestation, I guess.
Yeah, it's getting really bad. Like, I thought the biggest thing that we were gonna hear about all this in like the last like 6 months, I thought it was gonna be the Sweet Baby Ink stuff, but I get like personally this kind of stuff happening with 40k.
Part of it.
Yeah, it's starting to hit more close to home, I guess.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make everyone here aware, since you got a pretty big audience right now, is that Bridges, they're on a mission to create a cultural shift in companies where DEI principles flow through all facets of an organization, from the C-suites and marketing through product development and procurement and customer service. So this is something that it goes a lot deeper than what we think. It's not just a Sweet Baby incident. And like, I'm not worried about it because we're missing a little bit of context as to whether she a sister of Silence. And if she is a Custodes, I don't know much about Custodes and how they're made. I just know that they're like super Marines. So that's my understanding from the lore. I apologize.
No, it's fine. Definitely look at some old lore videos to give you context, but you're not entirely wrong. In very simplistic terms, that is correct. They are super Space Marines.
Okay.
But there is a lot more nuance to it. So feel free to. I'm not going to go on a lore diatribe because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But
no,
yeah.
I'm on a patrol right now. I'm here 6 hours a night. I got all night long.
That's
but
awesome.
It's streams like these that keep me busy. So keep me from wanting to blow my brains out.
Oh wow.
It's so boring out here. I deal with a lot of homeless, so
that's a trend I hear a lot with security guys, is dealing with like the homeless stuff. Like, I've heard some crazy stories.
Well, they want us to use these new DEI like training manuals and everything to do our jobs, and it's like, you're going to get one of us killed if we do this. So it's like, this is going to end up with a lot of security guards either retiring, or you're going to get one of us that aren't on a actual car patrol. People like me who just stand here and guard a facility with millions of dollars worth of equipment. You're going to get us killed by forcing us to do these policies when engaging with the riffraff. So it's just
man.
There it goes. Anyway,
yeah, timer just ran out, man. Is the last like closing statement you want to make?
Yeah. As far as this goes, I don't believe that it's a naysay yet. Now, when the codex does come out, and if she is a Custodes, then I think we should worry. Money where their mouth is. Either give us the female bodies or don't, because putting us a Sister of Silence body with a Custodes helmet isn't enough. Anyway, you have a good day.
Man, you too, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yep.
Also, stay safe and may the homeless not bite your ankles.
That's what the gun's for. You have a good night.
You too, man. Alright, I'm gonna pull in Sigval. Before I do, Nathan, I saw your comment, you son of a bitch. It's always Luton's no lore in 40k. Shut up. It's no canon in 40k. Not, although, in my opinion, those are mutually dependent, but regardless. Alright, pulling in Sigvald. Alright, Sigvald, can you hear me?
Yes,
Awesome. How you doing?
doing okay.
Goody goody. Alright, so what are your thoughts on the female Custodes stuff?
I don't like the idea.
Fair enough.
Yeah. One reason I don't like it is because it retcons the lore. Even if it's an expansion of the canon, as they say, it still changes what it was, the Custodes. Because what are the Sisters of Silence anymore? They are no longer unique. It's kind of the situation with female space marines. Okay, so what are the Sisters of Battle?
Yeah.
One problem I have. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree with you. That's another element of this that's worthy of discussion, is the inclusion of female Space Marines and female Custodes. One of the harms that does in terms of the roles or like the themes around the factions is that does rob away from the existing like all female offshoots, if you want to put it that way, of the Space Marines or the Custodes, because that's always been like for Space Marines, Sisters of Battle, and for Custodes, it's been the Sisters of Silence. That's always been kind of the offshoots of those factions. Those were always the all male ones, and then we had the two all female ones. It balanced everything out, and they complemented each other directly. And now that,
Yep.
yeah, and they also fit those niches of like we wanted the super powerful Space Marines. Now we had, but we for men, and super powerful nuns with guns for the women. Super powerful Custodes, golden armored gods, demigods. Super powerful null psyker females in golden armor. Like they had that balancing act that really worked alongside each other, really complemented each other. And now that we're having just that niche of the super powerful women just being added to the existing male factions, it's now taking the pre-existing female factions that everybody or most people loved and enjoyed and is robbing them of their identity.
Yep. Another problem is I have is that the lore of Warhammer 40k is not the only one that has changed. Have you seen the controversy with Bretonia?
Is there a new one?
No. I don't think it's a new one. It's the one that's the Lords of the Lance, the book that they introduced female knights.
The female knight who, I can't remember I'm trying to remember the bullet points, but the female knight who felt, I don't know, she was like fighting the patriarchy effectively was how I put it. I don't know the exact details. To be honest, I heard it secondhand, so you'll have to, I'm assuming you know the details better than I would.
Yeah. The thing about Breton is that their old lore is that they are very old school. They are very medieval society where the peasants have no rights. And before that, the women didn't have a lot of rights. But the new lore kind of bugs off the whole entire thing because now they are sexist while not also being sexist because they allow women to be leaders, generals, and soldiers and knights. So how does it work? So they are a society that's regressive or progressive. It's like how how normally fantasy nowadays they try to make that the society is patriarchal, but while you having black people being all types of colors, etc., more progressive than even the real world.
Yeah, it is like an internal contradiction. It's like you're trying to tell a story about this really oppressive group, but part of that group is diverse and full of the groups that you say are being oppressed. It does
Ex-
Yeah,
exactly.
it lifts an eyebrow and makes the whole thing very confusing.
Like, how are you supposed to be a regressive society that treats people very badly if women are allowed to be in power? How you are a patriarch? How that works?
Yeah,
Kind of bug the entire lore. And also, it takes away from some characters. Like, I know it's technically no longer 40k, but Rapunzel of Lyonesse, now she's no longer unique. She was an exception for the rule, now she's the rule. So, okay, I guess she's no longer a unique character. Similar thing with Custodes now being all female warriors, etc. What are the Sisters of Silence? Just the weaker version of the female Custodes.
yeah, and that's yeah, you're dead on, man. Like you're dead on. Like that's a huge negative with these inclusions as well. That needs to be factored in. And if it ends up working out the way the GW wants it to, and the female Custodes does take off and is super accepted, the Sisters of Silence will be disregarded and forgotten in time. Because why expand resources on making more unique SOS characters, books, novels, and miniatures when you can just do that with the Custodes, which are already popular, and then disregard them and kind of half the effort you have to put in.
Yep. And another thing, it kind of makes the old lore kind of inconsistent because before, you're saying they were existed. Where are they? I cannot find them in the Emperor of Mankind story. I cannot find them in any of the artwork, but now they exist. And they're saying, it's a lore expansion. A problem I have are the two main arguments that they have for them. The first is that's a lore expansion. They're like, they never outright said that there were no female custodes, so it's a lore expansion. Yeah, you could say that, but that's like saying, we never saw any female uh, sisters of battle, so they maybe exist. Or, we never saw any male sisters of silence, that means they exist. That's the argument. And another argument that I don't like is that you disagree, you think that there should not be female custodian, you're a sexist, you're a misogynist. It does two things. First, you're not actually responding to the conversation, you're not actually winning the argument. You're just putting an insult. Secondly, what happens when you say anyone that has another argument that's not yours, I'm misogynist? It takes away what the meaning misogynist even means. Because misogynist, it just means you don't agree with me, so you're wrong. That's what misogynist now means. That's something that really annoys me.
Yeah, trust me, I get you there, man. And that's what a lot of words have turned into. Like that's what Nazi means now. That's what like a lot of the buzzwords mean now. Like it's turned into a huge joke at this point. A lot of things that used to carry weight as insults now have no weight whatsoever.
It makes me very annoyed though, because let's be real, we know where this is going. It's not just gonna be the female custodians. Everybody's it's just gonna be female custodians. When you're using that argument, I know you really don't care what's gonna happen with Warhammer. Like, it's just a small lore change. It's not always a small lore change because where there is smoke, there's gonna be probably fire.
Yeah, and that's my standpoint as it stands. Like I trust me. I hope we're wrong about this, and this is some kind of isolated thing, or that it's not even a female Custodes. It is a Sisters of Silence that they're just calling it Custodes. But I just don't feel that's the case. Listen, man, we've hit the 5-minute mark. Is there a closing statement you'd like to make?
One thing I really hope is that we are wrong and that GW fixes itself and it's not even a female custodian. But if it's a female custodian and that's the way that GW wants the company to go, I feel we might have a second situation of Star Wars where the fan base will go to denial, then accept it, and then destroy itself in the long run, where they're like, this is not gonna happen, and it's fine. Now that's finally happening. It's all fine. Then the fan base is slowly deteriorating, and the fan base doesn't longer exist. 40k fan base blows itself up into a civil war between the fandom itself. Yeah, I have not much to tell other than this, but yeah, it's kind of sad what Warhammer might become in the future. And that's kind of terrifying and sad.
It is. And I'm with you there, man. Thank you so much for coming
Goodbye.
on. Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. Let me stretch for a second here. God, I'm an old man. I'm 24. And arguing about my back and stuff. I'm dying of old age here, can't you tell? There's youngins out there thinking they're something. Let me just chat. Okay. Oh man, shush you. I can't shush. I'm ancient. I'm dying. Can't you tell? Look at all the gray hairs. All right, I'm gonna pull in. So it seems like there's a little bit of confusion amongst the group. I'm pretty sure the Incredible Ka has been waiting a while. I don't remember Cyber. Did Cyber Ivan just jump in waiting call room 1? I don't remember seeing him in 3 or 2. Y'all, it's a line. Just. All right, I'm gonna pull in because I'm pretty sure he was there before everybody else. The Incredible Ka. Pretty sure he was here before everybody else.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm pretty good, man. You know, apart from the codex being a dumpster fire, like for political reasons, just for tabletop reasons, you know.
Granted, I've been so stuck on this stuff, I didn't pay attention to the rest of it.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
What's wrong with the rest of it?
Honestly, bro, that would be a whole other conversation. That would be like, we could be here all night talking about that. It's 4 detachments of just god-awful tabletop rules that are probably all going to get changed, and the points are probably going to be day 1 changed. They took everything. They took all the mortal protection, the dev wound protection. It's all gone.
Oh, they took the dev wound protection?
For now, the current idea is that they most likely wrote it over the summer, way before the game actually got rolling, and they actually knew what was going to happen with the meta, and they just kind of wrote something that is completely outdated and out of touch with what's going on in the meta, basically. But it is what it is. Yeah. So, I saw the female Custodes thing. I really don't, I hate that this always turns into a debate about acceptance, because I had this conversation in another Discord, like one of the Custodes Discords, and it was just immediately, as soon as I was like, yeah, I don't really like that, I got just piled on. They were telling me, like, oh, go to your Tiki Torch rally, bro, and, like, all that shit. And it's like, well, no. Like, I don't understand why that's always where this goes. It's like, you're a bad person because you thought you signed up for a certain tone for something, and then you had the rug pulled out from under you. Because that's basically what happened with this. Like, in terms of why anybody would have a problem with a female Custodes, right? The idea is that these Custodes, and I understand they don't explicitly state where they come from, although in the 8th edition codex, they do explicitly state they are from the sons of nobles. It does say that. So they were canonically male for a time. And anybody who's breathing and alive in this world today knows that there is a large subculture movement towards inclusivity at all costs, basically. Just check Disney's stock price for how that goes, for the most part. But when it comes to this, the reason why I have a problem with it, me personally, I got into Custodes thinking like, hey, this is the pinnacle of what's possible physically, mentally, everything, all of the above a Space Marine. And, forget mentally, like, obviously there can be genius women, there can be very, very spiritually powerful women and all that, and there can be very physically powerful women. But at the end of the day, like, when it comes to, like, a debate of physicality, a man is more powerful than a woman on average. And so when I'm, like, signed up to play the absolute most powerful possible thing that can be created in the lore, at least me, and I think a fair amount of other Custodes players are like, okay, they're going and selecting the best of the best of the best in terms of everything, including their physical qualities for combat, not for like how they look or gymnastics or something. We're talking about killing other things that are gigantic and fearsome. And then they're enhancing that to the absolute maximum possible degree. So you get into it, you collect all this stuff, you pay money, you put your time into it, and then suddenly they're just like, hey, yeah, here's a female Custodes, and they do it in this kind of like sneaky way in a codex, and it's like, I get if like inclusivity is like the main thing that's important to you in your life. You're like, okay, well, I'm super excited about this now, but like you've been saying with the other callers, they have their armies already. Like they have the Sisters of Silence, they have the Sisters of Battle. They're in Eldar, they're in Drukhari. Like there's certain things that are masculine for a reason. The tone, the implication of it, and all of the kind of what's the word? Like just the lore of it seems genuinely pushed in a certain direction. And then you buy into that and they change it randomly. It seems silly.
Yeah, and it's not just silly. There's a direct motivation behind it. And again, there's debate on this point as well, but to kind of hit on one of the first things you said, like the response to you on like another Discord where you just brought up that you didn't like it or you didn't like the change, and that people just jumped down your throat immediately and started like accusing you of things. That's part of exactly why like the pushback for this needs to happen and why it's because that there can't really be, widely speaking. I'm glad that so far on this stream it's been nothing but civil discussion. But there is a huge issue where there are people who are fighting hard against the message and against the perceived invasion of like woke, or not even just woke necessarily, but political ideology in a hobby, escapist hobby with a set tone and set universe. And then there are those trying to push it. And you dealt with, it seems like you encountered people who were trying to push it because immediately they didn't even want to hear like your reasons. They just immediately assigned upon you the identity of their enemy. It's a very us versus them mentality that's coming up. And that's because this is 100%, this stuff, it's 100% political. It's 100% ideological, and it's activists versus anti-activists. It's escapists and hobbyists versus political activism. And it's an ongoing issue that keeps cropping up. And crap, where did I just lost my train of thought.
You're saying, it's the activists versus the non-activists, and it's like an agenda that they're pushing onto the non-activists and making it about us versus them. And there's like a very, very kind of one-sided thing. It's either all or nothing with these people. It's
yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got me back on track.
No problem.
So, yeah, like that's an ongoing confrontation that we're trying to deal with. So, in terms of trying to like establish like a constructive conversation, I'm doing stuff on my end like this. But in terms of like discussing like a solution to the tonal issues that like that we're all suffering with this stuff with the female Custodes.
Yeah.
Right now, like my solution is to talk about it, and also personally, I'm boycotting until we get like if we get confirmation this ends up being a Sister of Silence that's just being called the Custodes. Obviously, I'll rescind all like my call to arms and stuff in regards to that, but that's something I'm doing. I don't know what level of a response you want to have to this personally.
I honestly wasn't ready for this at all. Like I just saw it today, and like I was reading through all the tabletop like rules competitive stuff of the codex, and I was like, oh man, I guess I'm playing my other army for a little while until like some of this stuff is figured out, because it'll be like a week to a month before they kind of like probably make the necessary quick changes, the FAQ stuff. So like, yeah, whatever. And then suddenly this popped up. And then the way that I felt when I saw that, to me, was just like I said, like having the rug pulled out from under you. Like I invested time, painting, competition, like into this with a certain framework of what I was dealing with. Like it was presented to all of us in a certain way. And like, while people can say something wasn't explicitly stated and use that as an example of why this is okay, it completely ignores all of the fucking tone and implication and the setting that has been presented to us for years previously. It has been said that they are sons. It has been said that they are supposed to be the maximum of what is physically capable, which I'm sorry, that happens to be a man, not a woman, whether you believe that or not. But that's what it is. And so people have spent tons of time and money and really gotten to identify with this lore and thought it was like some of the most badass shit they ever read based on the tone and all the details that they have been giving us. And a lack of an explicit statement that says that something isn't something is not evidence that it should be that thing. It doesn't mean that. And it's not evidence that it shouldn't be either. It's just that, like, it can be a bad thing to go ahead and just change something that was implied very, very, very heavily throughout years and years and years of lore and history.
There's actually something I want to hit on what you just said as well. Oftentimes you'll notice when it comes to these conversations, and this is actually, in my opinion, what proves that where the fans are coming from, where the non-fans are coming from. It's something you just said. They point to the absence of information and the absence of lore to make their points. We point to the existence of lore and the existence of things.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that right there, I think, is the perfect framework. I think everyone should keep in their heads when we have these discussions. Like, keep that in your head. They're pointing out an absence of something. We're pointing out the existence of something. That shows our values. They are looking for holes because they want to fill them and with stuff. We are looking for the things we actually care for that are in the pre-existing stuff. So
correct.
That's why you should completely devalue what they have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. What bothers me too is the idea that, like, having this preference for something is somehow not okay. Like, you're a bad person because you read this, that they presented all this stuff, and it's like, you know, they always turn the question to you as like, well, why wouldn't you be okay with it? Are you a bad person or something? Like, do you not support this, this, and this? And it's like, no, man. It's just like, yo, like, this for the same reason why I don't want to watch a World War I documentary where I watch a bunch of female soldiers go to war with each other. I also don't want a female Custodes. Like, it just hasn't ever in the lore ever popped up. It hasn't been anywhere, and it's been heavily, heavily, heavily implied that it was not possible or the case. So, you know, I don't like that they get the pitchforks out when you are like, I kind of don't have I kind of don't like this, and it makes me think twice about certain things that I'm doing with my army right now.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the only recommendation I can give you there, man, in regards to dealing with that, is finding communities where you are more aligned with, like, the discussion and the framework of. Because I don't know what Discords you're in when it comes to, or not even just Discords, but like
the general Custodes one.
Okay.
Yeah.
My recommendation with that, unfortunately, it's the best way I can give, is just try and find like a smaller sub community, or make one with your friends who are like-minded. It's a sad way to put it, but effectively, it's not to avoid the conversation, but I am effectively recommending to make a echo chamber of sorts.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
that's great.
That is kind of what I'm recommending. What I would stress with that alongside that, though, is don't always stick to that. Just whenever you want to have like a reasonable conversation and like a break from the crazy people, like have that. It's good to have like a little like space where you could just talk to your friends and bounce ideas off of in a more reasonable manner. But I do stress that you should always be willing to go back to like the debate, though. Like go back to like the bigger conversation.
Yeah, that's why I got banned, like not banned, but I got 24-hour timed out over there today. It's like, honestly, I hear what you're saying, and I do have those communities. Like, I have my immediate group of like friends in real life that I play with, my brother and my cousin. They're all on the same page. My other friends that I play with, same page. At the same time, I kind of made the conscious decision just to not shy away from this shit anymore, because I feel like this very, very vocal minority of people has completely shut up all reasonable people for the last like 6 years, and we've all just kind of sat there and taken it. So when this conversation popped up in that Discord, I was just like, fuck this, dude. Like, let's go. And I just argued with all of them until I got banned, basically, and I'll do it again as soon as I'm unbanned. I don't care anymore. Like, this shit is just getting so corny with these people. So that's where I'm at, but I don't expect everyone to be like that.
No, I get you, man, and that's kind of where I've been at for the last like 7 years. Yeah, that's the huge thing with my channel. If you've been paying attention to it, don't expect you to look all that up though. But regardless, I encourage that. Actually, I encourage people to get involved in the conversation, because if we let them do all the talking, that'll make it look like they're the majority, and that'll shape the universe, the setting, and everything to how they want it to be. So if you want the setting to be consistent and good, make your voice heard. That being said, I would like to throw in a little bit of tips, not really rules, because obviously you could take them or leave them. try and be civil up to the point they stop being civil. If that makes
Always.
sense. Yeah.
Always. And trust me, I was trying. But the first comment I got was, "Oh, aren't you late for one of your Tiki Torch rallies?" Like that was literally within 2 seconds I got that comment.
Wow.
And I was just like, "All right, bro, you're a clown." You know? And I even pointed out the irony of having 6 of them pile onto me and basically tell me that I was a piece of shit. I was like, doesn't this seem oddly ironic? Like that you guys are kind of grabbing your Tiki Torches and coming after me for just being like, "Oh yeah, this wasn't really what I signed up for with Custodes, I don't think." And they're like, "No, there's no irony at all. Get out of here." I was like, "All right."
Yeah,
Cool.
they didn't want to hear you
What a
or
logical group of
understand you.
people.
Well, they
Yeah.
weren't looking for logic. That's just they're cultists at that point.
Absolutely. I know you're pressed for time and you got to get other people in here. I wanted to
Oh,
make
yeah.
just one more point, which was simply that I find it crazy that like this is an issue to me, like from a business standpoint, like as a separate thing, of kind of losing touch with your base because people. This has been there's tons of historical precedent for this at this point. Like, look at what happened to Bud Light with Dylan Mulvaney. Look at what's been happening to Disney with their go woke, go broke bullshit and their stock price over the last 4 years. Like, yeah, you're appealing to this loud group of people on the internet who make you think the world wants something. But like, if the core of your brand isn't that group of people, you are alienating more people than you're bringing in. It's actually less inclusive to do this kind of stuff. And so, something to think about. I don't know that will happen with Warhammer. It just kind of depends on how hard they go with it. The harder they go with it, I'm sure the more people will kind of feel that way, and I'm sure it'll reflect in their business dealings. And they'll probably stop, just like all the other companies did. Like Bud Light ditched Dylan Mulvaney, and they picked up Shane Gillis as their spokesperson, like a complete 180, because money talks. So, see how that goes, I guess.
Yeah, that's all a matter of time. I, again, hope we're not going down that route.
God, I hope not.
But I'd rather be ready if we are going down a super politicized route. I'd rather be prepared for my fears to be incorrect than be unprepared for my nightmares when they come knocking on my door.
Yeah, this would be a real tough universe to lose to wokeness, man. It would be rough. I can't even imagine it happening. I don't think they will. I think that like some people said, this is testing the waters, and I think the waters are going to kind of say, "Hey, don't do that." And hopefully they back off, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's my hope. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good talk, man. I really appreciate you doing this for the community, man. Good luck out there.
No problem. I'm proud to do it.
Take it easy, brother.
Take it easy. All right. Let's see, what time is it? Oh my god, it's almost 4 a.m. We've been going for a while. By the way, make sure you guys leave a like on the stream. Show that support, you know. Okay, I'm really pressed for time because I have a D&D campaign I have to run in 5.5 hours. So I'm going to real quick grab Lord Metal, and then I'm going to read Rune Song. And if I have enough energy, then I'm going to see if I can grab my friend Greg. Sorry for everybody else who's been waiting, even if you've been waiting longer. It's just I do really want to get to them. Yeah, like, whew, I have been going for a while. Okay, sorry to everybody else. For that's waiting. I think with how many people who wanted to voice their thoughts and everything, well, I'll probably do a second open mic on this very same topic if I could find time in the next couple of days. We'll see about that. Because I could see a lot of you wanted to chat and hang out, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting pressed for time. But yeah, if that's something you guys want to do, I'll open this back up for conversation in like a part 2. In a couple of days. But yeah, I'm gonna pull in Lord Metal Man first. Boom. Yo.
Hello.
How you doing?
Doing amazing, mate. And you?
Tired.
I mean, we're in such a progressive era these days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alrighty, bud. I had no idea you'd be streaming at this fucking time.
I didn't think I would either, but I couldn't get, I got home from work. Yeah, and I was tired and everything, but they was still like in my head, and I'm like, I really want to talk to everybody about this, but I have D&D tomorrow, so I don't know if I also have like another stream planned like right after I do handle D&D. my Sunday is booked, so I really wanted to talk about this, but I didn't have time for tomorrow. But yeah, so
right. Well, I'll try and give you some material that I think would be interesting for you to know, certain things and all that sort of thing. So, obviously, firstly, is this like something that's been established in the past? Like, is it, male only Custodes? And from 8th and 9th edition, that would imply yes. Have you seen the 2 codexes for entries for that?
I've seen 8th edition codex for Custodes and 7th edition.
Yeah, 9th basically says the same thing. I think it is. It's either 9th or 8th. I'm not really too sure, but I've got a thread here by one of my followers. He's actually delved into the whole thing. You can look at it later if you like, but essentially, what it seems to be is they're playing on that whole. The lore doesn't specifically state only males, so therefore, you get what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the way that it seems to be they're going with. However, with 8th and 9th, it seemed like they were establishing it was males only. So that's a big no. To me, honestly, my opinion is on this whole thing is that this is the thin wedge of all the progressive bullshit trying to make its way into the company.
I agree. I mean, that's been my take.
Yeah, pretty much. This is like the first step in the door, the pinky finger in. However, there is some things to take away for this. This might just actually be a massive fail in the printing. It might be. It might be a mistranslation, whoever the hell they got to write it up, because, I mean, seriously, this doesn't feel right, you know what I mean? For, the very first, female Custodes. This seems like something big that GW would want to sell, big time. And they've got it in, a 1-page short story. No, it's 2-page short story, isn't it?
Yeah, it looked to be possibly 4, but the guy I saw flipping through the pages went really fast, so I couldn't tell if he skipped over a couple or if he went directly after those. And at minimum, it's 2 pages.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things there that'll make me go, okay, is this really a female Custode, or have they just fucked up the terminology for a Sister of Silence or something? Because
I hope so.
For a start, it takes place on a destroyer class ship. I'm pretty sure it is, isn't it? On
it's a Cobra class. Cobra class. Let me pull up the exact screenshot. Named Vigilant. Yeah, it's the bridge of a Cobra class destroyer named Vigilant Flame.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not entirely sure on this, but I'm pretty sure Custodes don't go on ships very often, but I could be wrong.
As a whole, very rarely, but they do have specific, unless it's been retconned, they did have a specific sect of Custodes that their whole job was to go out and find very important figures within the Imperium as dictated by the Emperor.
I know that one.
Yeah,
I know that one.
So they quite often leave Terra.
The other thing as well, though, is I was watching Valarak's stream yesterday.
Oh, he streamed about this?
Yeah, he was streaming about the book and all that, but he was kind of reluctant to say whether or not, he actually believes it's a female Custode or not, but it came out as one of those, oh, well, that's a bit odd sort of situations, you know what I mean? And I was listening to what his fans were saying, and quite a lot of fans were saying, right, see the name of the Custode? The name of the Custode ends with Kesh. Now, what people are believing it is that Kesh is some sort of Mordian sniper sort of thing who's friendly with the Custodes. So it could be that it's a misrepresentation in the name. This is just me, maybe I might be grasping at straws here, but apparently, according to the fans, they're saying it's from the Dawn of Fire books. No, I've not read those, so I can't confirm these details.
Well, the problem is later in the short story that Kesh is spoken to and referred to as lady.
Yeah,
and I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't believe if she were a sniper on a guardsman level, she wouldn't be referred to as a lady. She'd be referred to by rank.
That's why I'm saying this might be a mix-up with the names of whoever wrote up the story. I don't know. It could be just someone who's paid minimum wage to type up whatever they're fucking told, and it might not even be fucking English, but I don't know. It doesn't make fucking sense to me either. Yeah. But that's the sort of thing. So, in terms of that, I've gave you that link there for that guy's one. He's went through it all. You can look at that later, and you can decide for yourself if you want. You can put the link in chat for the guy's thing. But he's basically did a bit of a dive into it to see whether or not it would be canon or not. There's a few things that are irking people. One thing I have noticed is that apparently the GW Warhammer account has been actually blocking people who criticise the Custodes Codex.
They've been blocking them.
Yeah, there's been a few people getting blocked over it. I don't know how. I don't know how true that is, or if that's the actual case. It might even just be whoever's in charge of his social media accounts doing what every community manager does. You know what I mean?
Oh, hold on. I got a... I missed that. My apologies. Someone earlier, the Incel Factor donated... How did I miss that? It's highlighted. I am so sorry. I have no idea how long ago that was, but the Incel Factor donated 400 THB. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. What's next? Female orcs or necrons? I am so sorry I missed that. How did I miss that? But yeah, like at this point, well, female necrons is very possible, but female orcs, they're androgynous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Right, yeah, just continuing on. I'm trying to blast through this as quickly as I can for you, mate, to get the rest of you people and get yourself to bed. But, yeah, I'm also, obviously, I'm on Twitter as well. I've sent you this here. This is like an order that one of the guys has sent me. Now, the guy that made this order, he's a very passionate, GW fanboy. You know what I mean? He's one of these guys. GW can do no wrong. He saw that page, and this is what he cancelled. Get a load of that order, man.
Let me share this on stream. Holy shit. God damn.
I've had a few more people send me things. I've got quite a lot of people tell me they're cancelling their Warhammer Plus subscriptions. It seems to have caused a reaction of some sort. But that order level, man, I mean, look at that. That's a big order.
First of all, I'm appalled by how cheap that is. that you know how much this would be in America?
I'm assuming over $300.
Actually, let me do the math because I already know how much all that costs individually. Let me do the little calculations here, because combat patrols are $160 here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So 160 plus 70 for the codex itself. The dice set, those are all like 35. So 2 dice sets, that would be 70. And then the battle force, oh, those are easily like $250.
Yep.
Okay, y'all Brits get fucking discounts. Because that $550 is what it would be here in the U.S. to get all that same shit. So
yeah,
but it's 252 pounds. It's literally half what we have to.
Yeah, you got to number taxes in the state of your economy currently.
Oh,
I mean, ours isn't much better, but you get it.
Holy shit!
But that's just an example of that kind of order. I've had a few orders that are like that, maybe a bit smaller, but a few people have been sending me their stuff, and yeah, quite a lot of people are cancelling their Warhammer Plus subscriptions. And I've sent you another little link. This is just sort of the general idea of what's going on Facebook.
Holy shit.
Yeah, even on Facebook, there are groups saying, nah, look, fuck this. We've got to fucking, stop this shit, blah, blah, blah. And then you still get... And you see at the bottom there's another guy who's just like, fucking, shut up, chuds. You know what I mean? That sort of way. You'll get these people, guys. Look, guys, don't get disheartened by their fucking jumping up and down on the ashes of what you love. These are clowns, and they're always going to be there. There's no way you're going to get rid of them. Plus, as well, half of them are probably fake. It's probably like one guy on about 10 different alt accounts. I've noticed that a few times.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen a couple of accounts that were pretty suspicious with the succinctness. Yeah. Oh, Radholm actually liked the comment telling me to melt my minis.
Oh, of course he did. Of course he did.
That motherfucker watched my video. I know he did now because he's stalking
Yeah.
me.
Monkey Boy, I like to call him now.
I call him Frieza.
Monkey.
Oh god.
Oh man, I couldn't believe him. I couldn't believe he saw that. What a fucking racist cunt.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. Oh, there's quite a few things are there. There is one thing that is really making me doomer, right? And this is actually related to Old World. It is, right? And it's to do with the reason why female knights in Bretonia became a thing. Now, there was an interview done by, what's his name? Jordan Sorcery on YouTube. I'll link you the thing here, right? You can watch it at some point in your own sort of thing. But the author, Graham McNeil, right? He basically turned around and he got asked basically, right, so what was the whole thing about the inclusion of female Bretonian knights? And he said, well, the studio decided that. The studio being obviously the one that works for GW or GW themselves. And that kind of makes you go, what? You know what I mean? Now, obviously, I don't know what you say on that. I don't know how many of these are diehard, like, Bretonian and Warhammer Fantasy fans, but obviously, if you know Warhammer Fantasy with Bretonia, there was no female knights apart from one, and she was an exception. She was more like a Joan of Arc character. She was like a Joan of Arc character.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's what her whole thing was. So, yeah, the Graham McNeil just sort of did his Californian thing with it all. You know, he's a Scottishman who's been in California too fucking long. He's like, yeah, another year of the 2024, no, yeah, it should be a thing or not. However, he also fucked up with the bow thing. Apparently, he admitted that was his fault. A Bretonian knight would never be caught using a bow. So, all that points to me is either GW are losing the old guard or the people who actually gave a shit about it all. And it's just been inherited by fucking idiots now. That's the thing that's sort of scaring me now with this. And I don't know what to think on it anymore, mate. That's the thing. So many people are getting doomed by it. I mean, I'm certainly blackpilled a bit by this. I've got to admit.
Yeah, like, well, for me, like, where I keep, like, holding, like, my positivity and where, like, I'm able to, like, keep my head up, so to speak, is I'm only doomer about the future of 40k, which is a big deal, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I do have the safety net of knowing that if that were to happen, I don't have to quit 40k altogether.
Yeah.
Like, older editions, we have those. Old minis, we have those. Secondhand market, we have that. There's so much material to keep us, you know, engaged, alive, and well. So
I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable giving GW my money.
No, I agree. Like, that's why I said the secondhand market, like getting STLs, 3D prints, custom minis and stuff like that to fill in your armies and stuff. You can still do all that without giving GW a dime.
It's just mainly because it's like, look, if I can't get, you know, if I can't have what actually is the established rules be respected, then what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
if the rules of the universe can change just because people have an ideology bitch enough, then nobody would have any reason to get invested.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, if GW wants to lose some money and there's enough people like the lad I pointed out, and a load of people are pissed about it, and a lot of people just stop, you know, spending their money there at fucking GW is going to feel it. You know what I mean? Especially if it all happens within a short span. Plus, that was an order he was looking forward to. That was a pre-order, man. This guy was a fanatic for fucking GW.
Buying a Codex, 2 sets of dice, a combat patrol, and a battle force, you don't say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the guy wasn't exactly a light fan, you know what I mean? Yeah, that little meme I've sent you there at the end, that just pretty much describes how I feel about things.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now all you're going to see is people coming in with this sort of shit. And I mean, you've already had about 1,000 people tell you, yeah, this is the type of clowns that are going to come and try and inherit it. They're all coming out. There's plenty of them clapping and saying, yeah, get the fuck out. Yeah, don't let the door hit you on the way out because you're big bigot and all that. They're all fucking dancing that. It's like, look, I want to make sure this is like an actual full-on thing from GW, not just a fuck up. You know what I mean? Before I start fucking, burning everything to the ground. But that is already too much for some people, and some people are just fed up with it and they want to make a statement right away. So, yeah, I don't really have a lot more to say there, mate. If you want me to move on, I'll move on now. And I should probably just move on. I think I've dumped everything there on your doorstep.
And I appreciate it. I do.
Yeah, and I'll let you get the next person in who I believe is Runesong, who is a woman. Oh my god.
A real one.
Yes, or so she tells me.
Right, damn good impression. Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. You take care. I'll see you next time.
You too. Have a good one. Alright, where's she? Oh, damn. Oh, she went to bed. Fuck! I got Nathan's bullying me in the comments. What? Do I have to scroll up? Tasman, remember the Voxcast system we set up where you order stuff through me off it? Well, now I gotta boycott GW stuff, so it doesn't matter. Sadly. I don't know. If you find anything secondhand, let me know. Like someone's selling stuff out of like their garage. Wait, you're right here? Oh, thank God, she didn't go to bed yet. Well, hop in one of the VCs. I'll drag you in. He's being racist. Was he bringing up Chunkla? Oh, the Latinx comment. Okay. Oh. Doesn't matter that you guys are several countries apart. I would close your windows, Nathan, because if you don't, you hear the as a slipper goes right through the fucking window. All right, Lady Rinsong. Hello, lass. Can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Awesome. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. Fantastic news.
Doing well considering the circumstances.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on all this?
Disappointment. I'm also just kind of like waiting to see, like, is there something we're missing?
I hope
missing here.
I hope we are.
But yeah. And it's annoying too, because like I said in the chat, like, Sisters of Silence are right there. You've got other factions where you can have female representation, and it's not weird. It's just to choose to do this too.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear their motivations to ignore a pre-existing lore-friendly female option to shoehorn them in. It's the same thing. We're kind of like rinsing and repeating the same things we've had to say about female Space Marines, but the motivations are clear. Like the reason you would do this is because you're trying to send a message, and in my personal opinion, it's pretty obvious it's political in nature.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like it just doesn't make sense otherwise. I cannot fathom a lord or a hobby justification behind the scenes why you would do this.
Yeah, and I don't know about GW's motivations, but for the people who claim that, like, oh, this is to make women feel more comfortable, like, most of us are playing Xenos. I don't think women are suddenly going to start buying Custodes because of this one character.
Yeah. Most of the Sisters players I've seen have been guys. Finished
Yep.
thoroughly.
like most female players are off playing like the orcs. There are no female orcs. Or Tyranids.
Nope.
Like we have never like obviously I can't speak for every woman, but for the most part, like we're content to play things and people that don't represent us.
Well, I would say that's like most of us, right? Like my main army and my main faction is orcs. That's my thing. I love orcs. I am nothing like an orc outside of, like, I can be a dipshit sometimes. But outside of that,
like screaming log.
I love doing that. Absolutely. That's it. I'm not green skinned. I'm not androgynous.
Yeah, like well, when I was little, probably my biggest fictional role model was Optimus Prime. I am neither male nor a robot.
Exactly. And that kind of goes to I don't know if you're here during it, but like there was a trans individual that came in and I was trying to talk to them. And they pulled the whole, "Well, I don't think you understand, like you've never had to suffer a lack of representation before." So I tried like talking to them about like how representation in terms of what they mean by that, which is usually surface level crap like gender, race, sex, like that's what they mean when they say that. I told them that that's absolute bullshit, and what really matters is what's on the inside. It's like like when it comes, especially when it comes to like characters and stuff that you relate to, that relation, if it's based on those surface level stuff, is very shallow and is very meaningless. But if you relate and respect a character because of, you know, traits that they express via their actions, their behaviors, and their words, that's actually what matters. That it has substance to it. That has a much stronger connection to it. So
yeah,
I tried explaining that, and that went in one ear, out the other.
And it also implies that that certain people can't feel empathy for other characters just because you don't share every single trait with that character.
Yeah.
Like I don't know about anyone else, but whenever somebody's like, "Oh, women can't possibly enjoy the hobby unless there are other women," like that kind of tells me that you think that women are too fragile to appreciate the male perspective, and we're not. Like just as men can appreciate the female perspective, the reverse is possible, and the same with any other demographic. I think it's very appropriate that earlier today, I saw a video of a bunch of interviews of Star Wars fans, and I think it was Return of the Jedi came out, and the interviewees were so diverse. There's women, people of all ethnicities, and people just loved it. They didn't care if they were represented on the screen or not.
Which is how it should be.
I think the same thing would, yeah, and largely when we're not talking with like Wokehammer folks, that's how this hobby is. Like we're all united in our love of just a hobby.
Absolutely.
We don't need to see ourselves.
Yeah, and if anything, I think what we, at least this is my case. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I'd say, in my case at the very least, what I find most interesting in 40k are a lot of things that I'm not alike in any way. That I don't like. Most of the stuff I like most in 40k, I'm not very well represented by in any way.
Yeah.
Like orcs. Again, outside of being a little stupid at times and loving to scream wah, I'm not very barbaric, I don't think. I'm not very like hyper aggressive. Like I'm not alike that. It's the differences of me that I actually find intriguing. Like finding yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, like, heck, I like last time I was on your streams, you know, I mentioned liking Necrons. Last I checked, I'm not a metal alien robot.
Not that I've confirmed.
Yeah, it is hard for me to prove that I'm not.
True. I'll put that that investigation. I'm gonna put a pin in it. Anyway,
Ah, darn it.
But yeah, it's like the reason we go to fiction and we go to like stuff like that is we're interested in exploring new ideas and like new experiences. So if you constantly are looking for like a reflection of yourself being, projected back at you, I can't see in any way, shape, or form how you enjoy any media. Like,
Yeah, it's very limiting.
yeah, like it's also very like it's super narcissistic, and it's also super stringent on your own life, because when I think of like all the things I've loved most from like fictional experiences, every single one of them have been cases where yes, there was some relatability in terms of like the characters' motivations or their goals or actions, but it was the things I always ended up finding most intriguing about those experiences were everything happening around the characters I could relate to, all the exponential stuff. Like, to use a really common one for a lot of young folk, Harry Potter. Now, everybody got into Harry Potter because they could relate to Harry. Like, in some way, people could, quote unquote, find representation in him. Not that I like putting it that way, but they could find elements of him to relate to. None of them were...
For a lot of audiences, he's just a fellow kid who's just lost in this chaotic world.
Exactly. But what was it that everybody fell in love with most? Now, people did fall in love with the character of Harry, but what is the thing that everybody fell in love with the most? Everything around him. Harry was just the way we experienced the magical world that J.K. Rowling wrote. But it was everything around him that everybody loved most. It's like now everybody has like a different thing they took away that they loved most, absolutely. But it was all the stuff around him. He was the eyes and the ears and the nose of which we were able to experience the world in alongside him. But everything from the house elves to the broomsticks to the wands to all of that stuff that no one, I don't think, can find any representation into. If you can, send me a letter via owl, please. But I don't think anyone has ever experienced those things. Those aren't relatable. Those don't represent an average person's experiences, but you don't go there for an average person's experiences. You're not looking for something that represents you. You're looking for something to give you a new experience, something you haven't had before. So that's why this concept and this argument about representation constantly being brought up is so frustrating. Is because it's so limiting. It's all extremely racist, sexist, and I'm not sure what the word would be for like discriminating based on sexual preference, but it's all of those things because it's all based on those things. It's like you can't relate to a character or a scenario or anything unless it perfectly represents you or reflects back at you your immutable characteristics. And I think that's first of all, that's just wrong. But it's also just really sad that we're getting into a world where people are genuinely walking around thinking like that.
Yeah. And as for like the factions themselves, it's okay for there to be like restrictions on stuff in terms of like who can be part of what faction. Like the real world has restrictions.
Right.
And it's fine if there's like an all-male faction, just as it's fine that there's an all-female faction, just as it's fine that there's an all-mushroom faction.
Orcs.
And right. But yeah, like it and I would say to people who look at this situation and go, well, why not? Why not a female Custodes? Okay, well, why not a Xenos Custodes? Why stop at just women? Why not make everybody Custodes? And then at that point, like the Custodes aren't special anymore. They're just like all the other factions.
Exactly. Actually, that reminds me
why,
of
why would you take that away?
Right. It's kind of like that, and to quote a Pixar film, when everyone is super, no one will be.
I love that line.
And it's so poignant, and the fact that if anything, it's aged like fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
It applies here very, very well. It's the idea of like applying these unique elements within the setting of 40k, like the Custodes, that had a very strict and very specific outline that helped make them feel more unique and special. And they're kind of like eroding that. So they can apply it to more groups, so they can be more diverse. But that's, first of all, in the real world, there's lots of groups and stuff that are at the end of the day limited by, sometimes it's as mutable as like biology, but oftentimes in society there's lots of things that people are not suited for, and they shouldn't lower the standards so everybody can fit into it. That's just not practical, and it also lowers the actual significance of a given thing when you do that.
Yeah. It's like, it's kind of like not fun if, like, if you fast forward like 10, 20 years from now and any race or whatever can just be part of whatever faction, it'll end up like D&D. Like, everybody's the same, they just look different on the outside.
And even that looking difference on the outside is starting to get taken away.
Yeah. My gosh.
Yeah, because the whole remember the half races? Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Ugh. That was so annoying. Like, I was playing a game last year or the year before, I think it overlapped, but I was playing a half-orc, and I loved being one of only 2 characters in the party that had night vision, and it came in handy a couple of times. And as far as the current edition of D&D is concerned, that I shouldn't be allowed to have that anymore. Like, they think they're making it more fun, but they're actually making it less.
Yeah, taking away I don't know, fuck the word. Taking away restrictions unironically makes things less unique or less interesting. Like, you make it homogenous. Like, everything just kind of bleeds together. I think that, and sadly, that's what they're doing to D&D. They kind of already done it, actually, now that I think about it. They haven't completely done it. There's still some things, especially if you use, like, pre-made modules. There's still a lot of things that can be really unique and cool in D&D, but, 5th edition, it's definitely not... I miss 3.5.
Yeah, at least we've got the older books. They can't take those away.
True.
And the same with Warhammer. Like, we've got all the old stuff.
Exactly.
And I would tell people, like, yeah, this doesn't look good, but do not go gentle into that good night.
Indeed.
Do not let them take this from you without a fight.
And I bite. Thank you so much for coming on, Lady Rune Song. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope my words are not like I'm sorry. I've been up for almost 24 hours, so I might be starting to slur my speech. I don't know. I think I am, but I don't know.
Oh, I feel you.
Yeah.
Hope you sleep well when you get a chance to.
I'm gonna take one more caller, and then I'm gonna have to call it after that.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And you get some sleep too.
I will.
Night night.
Night.
Lady Rune Song, always an appreciated guest, especially since you had to deal with me starting to fall asleep. All right, let me get Greg in here. Let me get Greg in here before I pass out. All right. Kill Team Hungry / Greg. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. What about you?
I can hear you.
Nice.
Hey,
well, thank you very much, Young. Especially at this late at night. Here it's just turned like 10:32 a.m. So I feel you.
It's 4:30 in the morning for me.
Oh, Jesus Christ! All right. Well, okay. Let's keep it short. Pretty good stream. Appreciated that you are keeping this topic afloat, and probably will need a second session. I just got to realize this morning when I saw your stream, and I was like, "What the hell is Asmo doing up this late?" And I was like, "Okay, female female Custodes. Here we go again. It's goof o'clock. Is it that time of the year again? For that's like last year it was the Templin Institute with the usual bullshit of female Space Marines, and now female Custodes. Now I know for a fact because I done lore videos on this. Done lore video on Constantine Valdor, and I mean, I don't know if people know how a Custodes is made. It's basically handcrafted by the Emperor himself, because it's like you take a child in infancy, then you mess with its genome, its molecular structure, its everything. And 99.99999% of the time, the child dies before the age of 10. So a Custodes to reach what is a Custodes per se takes about 100 years, but you have to micromanage its life through the 100 years. So in order to make sure that the Custodes stays alive, and that the first one was Valdor, and I think here's the problem, right? Because first it was Valdor, then there were 3, then there were 10, and so on and so on. And with those plus the subjugated nations and such, could the Emperor eventually unite Terra, and then with the Thunder Warriors, of course, then Luna, and then he forcefully, or I don't know how, got the cloning people and all the scientists with gene crafters on Luna to start on the Astartes project. We all know how that went, and such, and why it's only a male chassis that can house the gene seed, and so on. So again, first for years they were trying with the female Space Marines, bullshit, I'm sorry to say, and now again, as you said very correctly, that the absence of evidence of a female Custodes made it for them possible to introduce this, what is it called? What's the name of it?
Female Custodes?
Calidus Taruvalia Kesh.
Oh.
Sorry, I must have butchered. Yeah. So, I mean, okay, from a lore standpoint, it's okay, right? Because it never said that it's just always a child. Usually the nobles who said, okay, I'm with this big ass golden giant dude, here's my son, take it away as a token of what is it called, loyalty. Or as we know, there's the water thief, the female noble of Terra who basically stole an ocean, one of the last oceans of Terra. Her son was taken away, and then now he was stabbed by that demon sword in the warp and was commanded to run until his lungs gave out. So this is how it goes. A female Custodes is plausible because it's a child, genetically and so modified on the molecular level to be whatever, right? But as I said in my Templin Institute rebuttal video, why would you do that? Exactly what people say in the chat. It was Ra, right? The son of the water thief. Why would you take a lesser, I'm sorry to say, but a quote unquote, so a weaker platform, and make it into this walking, talking tank? In the Constantine Valdor books, there is a single Custodes sent to negotiate for quote unquote peace, and he was attacked at the gates, and he was kicking over tanks and armored vehicles with his foot, and he was flipping over Abrams tank level military gear, and someone was some conspirator was looking at it from a distance, and he was like, oh fuck, goddamn, how are we going to overthrow the Emperor if one of his soldiers can just single-handedly take a city? And it's like, just what I said, 40% less muscle mass, much more less bone density, incompatible with certain types of hormones, and so on and so on. Why would the Emperor do this? I mean, there was one big mistake the Emperor made with the Primarch project. He was too confident about it, and he got bit in the ass. Probably his attention was 1,000 directions, and he didn't realize that he's being betrayed by first the Astarte. What is it called? I think Astarte did it in the new canon. Whatever. So there's a logical flaw in why would you base your, because a Custodes is, according to the Emperor, what peak humanity would look like. But since it's taken too long for make a single Custodes, he just gave up on it and stopped at 10,000. So the only acceptable argument for a female Custodes is that he is running or whoever is making them line. Do we know anything about when this character is alive?
No, the most annoying part about this is it seems like this character, this female Custodes, is just shoehorned into the codex in a short story. No ceremony, no no greater.
No, I don't care. I don't care about that. But I care about the timeline. Is it 41st millennium, 42nd, or?
It's the 10th edition codex, so it's 41st.
10th edition. 41st millennium. Okay, so let's say it's plausible. Let's say that the Emperor no longer has any kind of jurisdiction over what the hell people are doing in his name. For example, Cole making primaries Marines, or whatever things that they are improving his work upon, or is like sorry. So they are improving upon his work. Let's say someone in his retinue who is responsible for making Custodes, because Custodes are made even though he is sitting on the golden throne for the past 10 millennia, someone took the liberty of making a female Custodes. Because why? Because maybe they are running out of suitable individuals, which I doubt, because there are trillions upon trillions of people in the Imperium. But let's say that's the one reason, because I could say that okay, we found a child which looks suitable to become a Custodes. Let's do it. Okay, fine. I'm up with that, because they don't necessarily have to be males, because they are built up from the molecular level and altered from the molecular level. So okay, it's plausible. But why this happened now? Why after 30, 40 years of consistent lore, why is this the first female Custodes? Is this the sweet baby ink moment of GW? Because apparently Space Marines could not be cracked because of the gatekeepers. So that let's take the holes in the lore and put our foot in the door. This way is this is my problem. I'm actually okay with female Custodes lore wise, but we all know what is going on.
Yeah, like if
everybody knows.
Yeah, if we were in a different climate, someone even asked that earlier in the streams. Like, if the climate weren't what it is right now, would you be okay with female Custodes? For me personally, I would raise an eyebrow. Even like if we weren't in the political climate we were, because the question for me would be like, why now? Like, why after almost 40 years of lore, we're only just getting.
And just like what you said, you would raise an eyebrow, but the next logical step would be, please explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the lore behind it? Because I'm very interested in the lore. Okay.
And if they had a good explanation, I would welcome them in and love it. But for me, because
it's like because the fundamental differences of the human physique. Of the two, and I emphasize the two genders are there and apparent. And why the hell would you place your greatest weapon platform on a physical body which is much less weaker? If you just mitigate those differences by altering them on the molecular level, fine. Then why aren't there a bunch of female Custodes? I mean, they're not even female anymore. and those are not even male, because at this point it's just a Custodes, which is basically the alpha primus of a human being. They become genderless. So in this regard, why to mess with being female at all? So it's the usual thing of the progressive left, where everything they touch turns to shit, and it becomes inconsistent. So I'm very interested in the lore aspect. If it's going to be something bullshit, then obviously all hell will break loose. If it's not, then they can redeem this whole debacle by killing her off in the first instance, blowing the Cobra class up in some void battle.
Yeah, that
and that would be it.
Or confirming what some other people have suspected, because again, we don't have, like, as far as I've seen, we don't have the full short story, and we won't until the codex is out. But it's possible that it's also either a mistranslation or the writer of the short story didn't properly know the terminology of everything and was referring to as Sisters of Silence in the short story. That's kind of the hope/cope right now about the female custodian inclusion. For now, all we have to go off of is what is written, and what is written is Custodian, Calidus, Torvalia, Kesh.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the custodian or the custodian as we know it? So it's somebody's overseer or keeper, or is it actually the member of the Adeptus Custodes?
It doesn't qualify it in the text we've seen so far. The closest to qualifying it is they are referred to as a lady, like my lady. So they are of a higher standing.
Yeah, because usually the custodians are referred to as lords, because
yeah. So it's
Space Marines are.
Yeah, it's likely it is
as lords.
Yeah, it's likely it is a custodes, and not a custodian.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so as we said, we had these trans and non-binary Mechanicus characters already. So they tried with that. We had I think I don't know if it's canon anymore, a female Space Marine which died horrifically because her body rejected the Emperor's technology, the gene seed and everything. So I think that was written down somewhere that it was the most horrible death that person who oversaw the procedure ever seen. So we know that that's not possible. And what's up with female Ogren, by the way? Where are the female Ogrens?
Well, don't you know they're not the poster boys?
Oh my god. Okay. So it's like this. I mean, GW stock is down at the moment. It's like whatever. Not significantly, but imagine if this comes out in full force. Now it's down by 1.5%, but now it's under $100. So I don't know where this is going, but I'm eager to see how they explain themselves. The Wokies I think they're having a field day right now, so good for them for the time being. All I can say for the rest of us is we need to gatekeep as much as we can. And if you have spare cash, I know it's like 2024 and everything is like super expensive when it comes to cost of living, but a Games Workshop stock is about $100, especially as the US dollar is now stronger than the pound. I suggest, if you can, buy some stock, month for month, and eventually, just like this GameStop thing that went on a couple of years ago, we can have a say, because shareholders have a say in how the company is going. And if Wokies infiltrated Games Workshop, we can also infiltrate Games Workshop by buying stock and then telling the company that, yo, we don't like this anymore. Turn this around. And that's it. I mean, that's a utopistic way of thinking, but this is a valid alternative. So buy some stock, and as shareholders, we can then say to the GW leads that you better turn this shit around, or else,
I do legally have to say on my channel am not a financial advisor of any kind, and I cannot encourage or discourage. I cannot encourage or discourage the buying of stocks in companies Is legally I have to protect my ass here. If someone buys
Yeah,
stocks.
sure. Just like it's all me. It's not Asmo. Asmo has nothing to do with this. It's just my unintelligent and and inexperienced advice. But this is what everybody says. If you want to turn the company around, well, buy yourself into the company. It's a publicly traded company, Games Workshop Limited. 98 pounds currently, a stock, and this is how you can have a say. You will be on the shareholder newsletter. You will see the company's inner workings and whatnot. And yeah, it's like one stock at a time. We can turn this thing around.
Having start to wah.
But yeah, I would be very sad if the DIE finally could have a foothold in the hobby. I think we did a great job of keeping the Wokies away. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but if we need to go out with a bang, I would say that then we should start demanding Misters of Silence and Misters of Battle, and then just pour gasoline everywhere and burn it down to the ground. And that's it.
I don't know. The sad thing there is if we push for that, that doesn't really affect the woke at all, because they don't care about the universe. So asking for Misters of Battle, they just don't care.
Yeah, but well, whatever now. It's whatever at this point.
Yeah, I get that though.
So yeah, I know for a fact that the GW is full of communists and these neo-Marxists, and I bet that they worked very hard to get this, and their case was like, all right, we don't know anything about this lore piece, let's do it, and they did it, and now, but everything is turning around. So Hollywood is turning around a little bit now. They had enough of the woke. As your previous caller said, Bud Light turned around. Gillette lost what, $4 billion with that anti-men advertisement. We will see. Lore-wise, I still think it's plausible. I would like to see the full lore behind the character, and then I'm gonna point fingers if I smell bullshit.
Yeah, likewise.
That's my take.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that it's some kind of typo, mistranslation, something like that. If it's not, I'll go from there.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Greg. It's been a long time since we talked.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here. I wish you a speedy recovery, sleep-wise, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend with your D&D session.
I will. I'm probably gonna have to ask my party if we can delay for an hour so I can get some extra sleep. But that's another thing altogether.
Yeah, just like drink a gallon of espresso and you'll be fine.
A gallon of espresso.
I mean, I don't know.
Then I could go to the hospital.
Whatever.
Sorry, guys, can't do D&D today. Why? Well, they're clear.
I don't know the stupid metrics I count in liters. So.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on, man. I'm gonna wrap up.
You keep on trucking, buddy.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. All right, have a good one, man.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, guys. I'm gonna call it there. We have been going for a while. It's almost 5 a.m. The sun's gonna start coming out where I'm at, so I better get to bed and get some sleep because I gotta run a D&D campaign. The life of a DM never ends. But we had some awesome discussions today. I'm not gonna lie. I got really lucky with the people that came in. Lots of great people, lots of great voices, and again. There were plenty of people I didn't get to today, like Deadeye and Cyber Ivan and a bunch of others. So I'm going to see if I can set up another day this coming week. I don't know what day. Possibly Wednesday, but don't hold me to that. I'm going to set up another day this week where I'm going to do a part 2 to this discussion and open the floor to even more people. And I'll probably time it for a better time than like dead in the freaking morning. Probably not wise. Yeah, it was a nice stream. The chat was chill and the vibes were immaculate. Gracias, good sir. Well, Thank you, Pickle Father. I appreciate it. I do try and have these open mics be as civil as possible, but like I always say, if you're civil with me, I'll be civil with you. But if you want to go low blow, I'll go low blow. You know, if you want to go blood sports, I'll go blood sports. But I do like that it's just as much on the community and you wonderful people who come in and talk to me to keep the civil tone and a fun, flowing, and positive conversation. So it goes both ways. I try and maintain that atmosphere, and I'm very lucky to have an audience and a community that are willing to give it just as much back. So that's why we're able to have these really nice open mics. So I appreciate it, guys. So just as much kudos to you guys as kudos to me. Oh. Yeah, so... And again, hopefully all this discussion ends up being a moot point and it's some kind of like typo and it's really meant to be a Sisters of Silence. I'm really hoping for that one. But I'm ready for it to be something else. Hoping I'm wrong. Always. But yeah. Night, guys. Today said I'm going to send you... Ooh, good. Yay. DMs. Yeah. I'll stay up for that then. I'll wait for your DM and then I'll head to bed. Yeah. Have a good one, folks. Leave a like before you guys head out. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. All that fun stuff. And I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.